Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the NXTGEN Racing MX-5 Cup. We're here for round 7 of the championship, the start of the second half of the season, and we're here at Monza, the northern region of Italy, 20 kilometers north of the city of Milan. It's one of the most famous circuits in the world. It's up there with where we were last time, Bathurst. It's up there with Le Mans. It's up there with Monaco. It is one of the oldest, most heritagical circuits that we know of in motorsport. Welcome along to the broadcast tonight. My name's Alex Everett of Crest Autosport, and alongside me we have Paul Walsh of TX141. Paul, how are you tonight on this sunny day in Italy?
Oh, I'm absolutely doing fantastic, Alex, and I cannot wait to see our drivers go back out on the circuit in a race trim and go battling once again. I mean, that week's break, it feels like forever between rounds, and after our round at Bathurst last time out, I mean, surely we're going to have an absolute cracker of free races tonight, are we not?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if the last few rounds taught us anything, it's that this is going to be very, very close indeed. I mean, we say that going into most races, but we had the draft city of Daytona 2 rounds ago where it was extremely close. Lots of close finishes and plenty of overtaking on the straights, etc. But we also had Bathurst last week, a more technical track. Of course, we have some technical corners on this track of Monza, but Bathurst, of course, was another great, great round. A tricky circuit that people just want to win, and Monza is up there as one of those tracks that people want to win. It's one of the oldest tracks ever in the world. In fact, I believe it's the world's third purpose-built motor racing facility, built in 1922. So it is approaching its 100th birthday. Is Monza? It's mad to think that we've now got circuits in the world that are 100 years old. But it's up there with Silverstone and Indianapolis as one of the oldest tracks in the world. I mean, Paul, what is this track? If to the non-racing fans here who aren't necessarily as fluent with the tracks as we might be, just what does Monza represent for motorsport fans?
So for motorsport fans, Monza really represents the art of the draft, i.e. running behind another driver and gaining speed down the straight, and also the mastery of heavy braking. This circuit consisting of, as we'll go into shortly, 11 corners. You'll notice based on that circuit map on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, that effectively 11 corners separated by 4 extended straights, plus also a couple of smaller straights. And what it means is that our drivers will have ample time on the accelerator before they need to get ready to slam on the anchors, and it's about who's the bravest on the brakes and also who can maximise their speed down the straights. And it's going to be a circuit indeed which is just about as much tactical advantage in terms of being in the draft as it is about outright pace, and that is the thing that this circuit means to so many series. If anybody has tuned into Formula 1, you'll see some of the shenanigans that go in Formula 1 with slipstream. Indeed, any series around here, it's just as much about that straight line speed as it is about being brave on the brakes.
Absolutely, and in the context of NXTGEN Racing here, this circuit does tend to turn out some pretty surprising results, particularly in Formula 1 over the years. I mean, Danny Ricciardo took his first win in McLaren here. We also had Pierre Gasly in 2020. We also had Charles Leclerc winning that race in some fashion in 2019. Could we expect some different winners tonight?
Oh, quite possibly, given the fact that whilst we do have some very fast drivers in each of the classes, you can imagine, well, lap time is going to be key, perhaps in qualifying, but also the amount of slipstream available to our drivers here could see some drivers who may not be as quick naturally jumping the way out of the field, and we did see that, to be fair, in the iRacing GT3 series hosted by NXTGEN Racing last week.
Absolutely, and you've teed us up quite nicely, actually, to talk you through the championship standings as they come into tonight. We have got the pro category standings. So the drivers in our standings who will be labelled with a black background number are our pro category drivers. They are the top drivers on iRacing High iRating, which is the scoring system on iRacing, but also real life drivers as well. Real life drivers including Mikey Doble, who leads the championship heading into this second part of the season, and he has kept company. Second place there, Adam Delmont in the Excite iRacing team. As third place taken up by Lee Holmes, losing a little bit of ground from Adam Delmont in the last few rounds, but let's see if Lee Holmes can claw it back. Deegan Fairclough in fourth position with 326 points. He's had a little bit of bad luck here and there this season, but a lot of good luck as well, and a lot of good results, which have put him in a very good fourth position there. Might he be able to get back some points on Mikey Doble at the top and start fighting for that top spot? Jamie Dory, our league host, in fifth position there. A couple of good results for him, including a race win. At Montreal, I believe it was, but Nick Clibbins in 6th place, following him by 3 points. And then there's Pete Newman in 7th place. Pete Newman has been quick in the rounds he has taken part in, but hasn't taken part in every round, so sits a little lower than probably he might want. Ben Bennyworth, a nice consistent season for him, 8th place at the moment, just ahead of Ollie Peters in 9th place, who of course took the win at Daytona in some dramatic fashion last time, 3 weeks ago, excuse me. Sam Smith in 10th position, rounding off the top 10, and he is just ahead of Adam Morgan, one of 3 of our BTCC residents, in 11th place there. Not attended all rounds, but some good results for him. Keith Dempsey in 12th place with James Clark 13th. Bobby Thompson, another one of our BTCC residents, in 14th position. And 15th to Ben Williams. James Warrior in 16th. Liam McNeely, who, of course, if you watched last time 2 weeks ago, you'll remember him very well. He took the three-peat of victories last time out at Bathurst. 17th in the championship for him, as he's only attended 1 round. But let's see if he can claw his way up the grid as the rounds go by. He put on quite a show last time out, and let's expect some of the same this time around. And Daniel Robein in 18th position, and it follows on with John Higgins in 19th position, Adam McNally in 20th, and 21st is Maurice Henry. And Paul Walsh is going to show you through the Pro-Am category standings.
Well, thank you, Alex. Without further ado, here are your Pro-Am standings, ladies and gentlemen, going into round number 7. It is Lee Horne who continues to lead the championship on 439 points, having a good day at Bathurst and 3 great performances from the Pro-Am driver. The number 36 driver now well clear of Wayne Douglas, giving pursuit in 2nd place on 379. 60 points between the 2 of them, but you can imagine it can all turn upside down for both tonight. Nigel Stock in P3 and continuing that campaign where he's chasing it after Wayne Douglas. Indeed, a back and forth between Nigel Stock and P4 man Craig Cockrell. The Simtech Racing Gold driver, 327 points, having a difficult time at Bathurst, but he'll be looking to rectify that here at Monza. John Burnham completes the top 5 there, ahead of Glenn Humberstone, who on 299 points right now, only 9 points clear of P7 man Liam Silkstone, a driver who we're keeping our eyes on, the iRacing driver, due to his outright pace. And whilst the luck has not necessarily gone his way all the time, it's gone a little bit better than the luck of Lewis Kent, the BT Motorsport with Essex and Kent driver, who has had some difficulty and is on 258 points, but he could turn it all around in the second half of the season. He's only 3 points ahead of Aaron Thompson, and Mark Oliver completes the top 10. But then outside of the top 10, but no less fast and ready to get into the top 10, Callum Jenkins there in P11 on 214 points, only 2 clear of George Watson, David Maguire P13, and Niall Murray P14, Alex Denning completing the top 15. And then you can see Jeff Perkis, Rob McGregor and Peter Dempsey completing that standing order. And well, the Turn 3 Motorsport driver Peter Dempsey, we're hoping to see a great performance from him tonight on the Monza circuit.
Absolutely, and just one thing to point out, with Lee Horne at the top of the standings, he extended his lead at the top there, but he also got, in respect of his category, a three-peat of victories at Bathurst last time out. With penalties that were applied, he was given the victory in one of the races that he didn't win, and it got him a three-peat of victory. So him, like Liam McNeely, very good round for him, and he can continue his form into tonight. But we move on with the championship standings into the AM category standings. Now, there's not many of these drivers in the server at the moment, so if you're listening, guys, get in, please, because these guys have put on some great shows this season, including Dave Whitehouse in our favourite livery, the Duck Song livery. He's at the top of the standings with 501 points. He'd be good at darts if that's anything to go by. Paul Scott not too far behind him for NXTGEN Racing Green. Him and David Whitehouse having a brilliant battle in the AM category this season. Let's see if they can continue on today. Tom Delaney in 3rd place with Mark Arrowsmith in 4th position. Liam Tack in 5th with Martin Smith 6th. Dustin Lamb in 7th as we move on to the qualifying session then. Steve Thompson 8th, Simon Robson 9th, Jay Elliott 10th, who was his first round last time out of Bathurst, as it was for Johnny McMullen. So hoping to see how those guys get on tonight. But we have ascended into the qualifying session, so we'll actually be able to see some cars now, and we'll get going with this racing and the competitive action here at Monza. So we're taking a look here at Liam McNeely leading the guys out on track. So the key thing here, Paul, getting yourself in what's not a DRS train that some people might know the term as, but getting yourself in a train of cars to get that all important draft on this circuit, because these cars, they totally depend on it.
Oh, indeed, Alex. And that is the thing we're going to be seeing in qualifying. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, you may see over the course of the qualifying session a number of drivers. They seem to go out there very quickly, but then they'll slow down towards the end of their out lap or warm-up lap and then start to form into this long pack of cars. That is intentional. And the idea is, as a qualifying driver, you want to be the driver who is approximately 2 to 3 cars behind in the train, because on the straight, you'll effectively gain a double or a triple draft. Now, what does that mean in layman's terms? It means that on the straights, a driver can look to gain somewhere in the region of 2 to 5 mile an hour over their competitors, and that top speed enhancement on the long straights, particularly the run out of the final corner to turn number 1, could be the difference between a driver qualifying P10 or qualifying on pole. That's how tight it can be at Monza. Now, on the flip side of the coin, of course, you will see some drivers will rush around, particularly in the opening half of this qualifying session, whether it be in 15 minutes, and they'll try to get in a lap early. Now, is this a banker, you ask? Yes, it is indeed. They are trying to get a lap in which is representative of their optimal lap time if they have no slipstream, and therefore they'll place themselves well going into the rest of qualifying. And why would you do that? Well, the challenge, of course, is running behind another driver. You have to then anticipate the driver's pace, and you can imagine, as we see Liam McNeely here, tucking in behind Deegan Fairclough, is a bit further up the road, approximately 7 tenths to 8 tenths of a second up the road. Anyway, feeling a very nice draft that if he gets too close to the driver ahead and then into that heavy braking zone, he has to really come on the brakes more heavy than he expected. Well, he's got to go one of 2 ways. He will attack the driver in front of him in the back and cause an incident and pick up a penalty, or it's going to be a compromised lap. So that will be the challenge with the slipstream as we ride on board with Liam McNeely to take us around for a lap, Alex.
I'm going to let you do that because you seem to know the track so well, Paul. Take us on a lap of Monza right here, right now.
Right on board with McNeely then, making his way down towards turn number 1, heading up to top speeds, and as he heads all the way down towards the braking zone here for the first chicane, turns 1 and 2 at Nana's Rettifilio, braking at approximately 125 metres there in the Deegan Fairclough, and turning through turns 1 and 2. Right into left here, and you see absolutely clambering the car over the sausage curb there, almost losing the rear bike, taking a huge amount of sausage, going out to turn number 2, and as he charges through Curva Grande, turn number 3 here, you'll see tucking in behind Deegan Fairclough, who really right now is just qualifying in clear air, and he is giving all that advantage to Liam McNeely, and McNeely, you can see, is gradually getting closer and closer, flat out through turn 3, and now making his way up towards the second chicane, known as the Regia chicane, as he brakes at approximately 110 metres, coming down the gears once again. You can see running as close as possible and cutting over those apexes, and much he dares, as now he makes his way up into the first of the 2 Lesbos. Into sector 2 they go, into turn number 6, and breaking his way in here, a medium speed corner, and getting nice and tight before accelerating out, using the runoff curve there in order to build up maximum speed in the run down towards turn number 7. Lesmo 2 at this point, and you see he's going to take a huge amount of apex curve, which the Mazda MX-5s can do, as their suspensions are not as sensitive as other classes of car, and now it's the long run down the Seraglio curve, also known as the Seraglio straight, depending on how you want to confirm it. It's not classified as a corner, that curve there, and now making his way down to the third and final chicane, known as Ascari, the left-right left, the medium to high speed chicane, and you see McNeely has closed up very close to the back of Deegan Fairclough, and this is where now the big change comes. He goes from the left into the right, hooking the throttle and the car onto that turn 9 curve, and then just completely flat out on the exit of 10 and charging all the way down the final straight now towards turn number 11, known as Curva de Parabolica, or Parabolica in short. And you can see here Fairclough moving out the way in order to essentially not be considered to be compromising McNeely's lap, and he does not want that pressure of dealing with McNeely, but breaking into this medium speed apex, and he comes down all through the gears down to third gear, braking at approximately 75 metres, and he gets back on the throttle as soon as he clears the apex. So you need as much momentum coming out the corner. McNeely staying over to the right hand side here to shorten his run to that timeline. He'd be on the left if it was the race. As he goes across, it is going to be, well, let's take a look and see what this lap comes in at. If it is within track limits, it's going to be a 2:12.876, and you can see already, compared to Deegan Fairclough's lap, the best part of almost what was 2.2 seconds faster, albeit Fairclough did back out there, but already Lee Holmes there, and you can see all the laps coming in where the slipstream train is being utilised. Well, back to you, Alex. It is looking as though everyone's tucking into a pack.
Yeah, it's surprising the amount of times that are coming through, because Monza is actually quite harsh on its track limits, because it is so tempting to cut the corners. It's so tempting to run off wide on a lot of these corners. And some of these corners you can run off wider, much wider than others. It's very confusing, but a lot of these drivers seem to be dealing with it quite well at the moment. We're looking at championship leader Mikey Doble, second place at the moment, just 0.3 of a second off Liam McNeely. It could be said that McNeely was held up a little bit in the Ascari chicane, but he still managed to get a good lap in. These two at the top of the standings, clear of all the other drivers at the moment. No Pro-Am category drivers. So Pro-Am category drivers are drivers with their numbers on our timing tower labelled in orange. There's none of them on the standings at the moment, but we have got one AM category driver at the in the standings at the moment. It is Mark Arrowsmith, setting a bank of time at the moment, so we'll see if he can hold pole position provisionally at the moment, but pole position for the race coming up later on. A couple of new drivers in here as well. In fact, only one new driver in here at the moment, as we have David Kernham. Now, if you're familiar with Crest Autosport TV, you won't be familiar with the spin he's just had there, but if you're familiar with Crest Autosport TV and NXTGEN Racing, you'll remember David Kernham from Race Room Leagues. He was quite the challenger in our World Touring Car Challenge last season. Just at the end of last year, David Kernham got himself third or second in the World Touring Car Challenge, so he's come over to iRacing to try his hands at that, and let's see how he gets on tonight. But to the actual action, there's still a lot of draft trains going on here. You can see the NXTGEN drivers buddying up again, so they usually do. Jamie Durry leading along his teammate Lee Horne, who hasn't set a time, but it might have been Lee Horne. We didn't see him on the previous lap. It might have been him leading on Jamie Durry, as they've got John Burnham in the Alpine livery just ahead of them. As they come around, what used to be referred to as the Parabolica is now referred to as the Michele Alboreto curve, in honour of...
Oh, they changed the name, did they?
Yes, they have, yeah. It was announced at the Formula 1 Italian Grand Prix last season, I do believe. But, yeah, it's a lovely touch for the Italian Ferrari driver. The Parabolica, as we all refer to it as, has got sort of a... what do you call it? It's painted into the ground on the outside of the corner. Picture of Michele Alboreto's number 27 Ferrari. It's quite a nice tribute, quite a nice touch, and it's brilliant that Monza has such a site on their circuit, as well as the picturesque location that it is.
Sounds like I'm going to be doing a little bit of research tonight before I go to bed after this fantastic race, and to help me go to sleep after the adrenaline that's going to be going through my body, looking into that, because that is something new to me. I did not know that, and thank you for that, Alex.
No problem at all, no problem. It's usually you that's teaching me all these facts, but I'll give you one once in a while. But Deegan Fairclough has put himself third in the standings, just 7/10 off of Mikey Doble. You could say we usually see better from Deegan, as he's quite a bit off Liam McNeely, but we'll see how he gets on. I believe him and McNeely might be working together here, Paul.
It does look as though, but I think one of the things as well, we have to keep in mind with Dean Fairclough, when he doesn't have a good qualifying session, it's almost as if it's like a ball to a matador's cave, and that just incentivises him to push even harder in the races. And we know he's incredibly fast in the Mazda MX-5 since his debut in round number 3, and we'll have to see how it goes as he goes a little bit wide there, coming into a scoring, gets it all wrong and out of sorts, and well, he has to run straight across. Now, how will Manili deal with it? We've got one car going into the wall. That's the Crest Autosport car of Ollie Peters that's jumped to the pits and got it very, very wrong in the process, and I think losing the rear end. But as he makes his way back out on the circuit right now, I think Manili being helped out, but here I think Ollie Peters, he gets the tail slapper coming through Ascari, and it is a very easy mistake to make, just given the fact that momentum transfer going through turn number 8 into 9, that left into right, and the rear can just jut out, and if it's not hooked up properly, the car is going to spear off circuit. As we can see here, Deegan Fairclough building himself back up to speed now. Meanwhile, Lee Holmes tucking in behind here, I think coming to the end of a lap and trying to improve from P4, and as he comes across the line, he does not improve, but we can see Maurice Henry meanwhile moves all the way up into P2.
Yeah, we saw Maurice Henry with a pretty quick car underneath him at Bathurst last time out. It's no surprise that he's up there, just quarter of a second behind Liam McNeely, and just as we say that, we saw him lit up in green in the standings there. A time from Lee Horne that puts him 7th overall, commanding lead in the Pro-Am category in the championship, but also in this race right here, right now in qualifying. He puts himself 8th, as Pete Newman has put himself into 5th position as he's finishing off his lap back there. It's all beginning to cook up a little bit here, Paul. A lot of drivers really racking in some good laps with some good teammates out there helping them along. That's certainly a bit of an advantage to some drivers.
Oh, it will be if you can have a friend out there who's going to work with you, particularly if you've got a teammate. Remember, this is a driver's series. There is no team championship in this one, or constructors championship. But if you can find someone who's willing to partner with you, teammate or just friend down circuit, because a lot of these drivers, of course, whilst they're rivals on circuit, they're great friends off circuit, and it's the mutual benefit. It's a I'll scratch your back if you'll scratch mine situation, and we can see times continue to come as Adam Delmont moves up to P6, the pro driver. But as we continue to look at Ben Bennyworth here, looking backwards, the problem, of course, and we said this earlier on, is the fact that when our drivers get into these slipstream trains and they try to work off of one another, if they don't time it right, then they get this really awkward situation. You see Bennyworth here, too slow through Lesmo 2 for Jamie Dory, and as a result now Dory's essentially got to try and overtake while staying in the draft. But look at Bennyworth, he's not moving out of the way as such, because Bennyworth I think feels, and now he's finally staying over to the left hand side here and tucks in, but Bennyworth will feel he's got the right to be on a fast lap. And to be fair, this has happened in multiple series in real world and in the sim racing world, where drivers have been penalised in qualifying because they've been found by the stewards to be impeding under qualifying in perhaps one of the biggest traffic jam qualifying sessions that you can have in a season, because everybody wants to be in that tow. If you're right at the back of the pack, such as John Burnham in the Alpine at Motorsport MX-5 right now, he's essentially got what is the best part of a quadruple, if not a quintuple tow down here. Alright, it's now a quadruple as Jamie Dory takes the number down by 1, but Burnham arguably is going to gain massively on the straight here, but can he convert it into a brilliant qualifying time, because he is currently P15, a long way off of Lee Horne in P9.
We might see a decent time from him as we'll look to these drivers as they come across the line. Not many of the drivers, the pro drivers who come across the line have set a better lap time. We'll see how John Burnham gets along here. We'll see other drivers potentially moving up here. I think that was Craig Cockrell who moved up into 17th. They all come across the line. I don't think any of them improved. They squabble for positions just ahead of John Burnham here. Quite a lot going on. We've got the next gen cars trying to work together, but you've also got Ben Bennyworth trying to stick to these drivers like glue. At the head of him is Craig Cockrell, as peeling off there is Lee Horne, and I think that was John Burnham peeling off there as well. But these drivers will continue on, and we are very near the end of the session, so it's getting quite important for these drivers now. It is quite a long lap in these Mazdas. I mean, for the Formula 1 cars, it's nearly a minute less than these cars. It's a relatively short lap for Formula 1 because of the sheer speed they can take through the corners, but in these cars it's actually a long lap.
Oh, it is indeed. I mean, with this lap in particular, but what that also means for drivers, now this is a bit of a different change that some of you guys and girls at home may already realise. Imagine you're driving along the motorway and you do not have to brake for the best part of an hour. Well, at these circuits and racing in these cars, you imagine our drivers are flat on the throttle for an extended period of time. The run from turn 2 and through turn 3 up towards the reduced chicane, as we see Matt Emmons doing it, the NXTGEN racing drivers, he makes his way all the way up to turn number 4. He's spending the best part of approximately about 10 to 20 seconds on the throttle, so as a result you become lethargic. You get so used to having your foot through the floor that when you do need to go onto the brakes, it's a case that you very quickly have to react, and that is a challenge in itself, because as a driver you normally want to always be engaged, but here at this circuit it's almost as if it's a lazy circuit in these cars. Of course it's difficult when you go through the corners, but here for example coming down Seraglio down towards Ascari, again our drivers are on the throttle for so long and they've got to be thinking to themselves, okay, don't forget there is a braking zone coming up here, and it's very easy to do so. I can say that from my own experience, where you just forget to brake because you spend so much time thinking, I'm full throttle, I'm full throttle, I'm full throttle.
Exactly. Braking points very important here, particularly when you're overtaking cars as well. It makes such a difference whether you're in the draft or whether you're out on your own as well. There's quite the distance. You've got to make the difference when it comes to braking. To put it in an example, I remember having to adapt my braking distances in the Daytona 24 Hours just gone. That was driving a LMP2. Different to these Mazdas, of course, they've got significantly weaker brakes, and you can see here drivers squabbling for that draft position. You've got Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory hugging the inside here, but other drivers pass by, including Matt Emmons. But going to keep an eye on Mikey Doble here. He's picked Jamie Dory as his guinea pig in this, almost, trying to draft him, as there's going to be one more attempt for these drivers. There's a lot of drivers in the pits who decides to call it a day on qualifying. Pete Newman, Adam Delmont second in the championship, Lee Holmes third in the championship. All of them have decided to call it a day on qualifying, as have Liam McNeely and Maurice Henry. So could we see Mike Doble or even Deegan Fairclough, who are these two in the train here, get themselves higher positions, get themselves into pole position? We might well see it. We'll find out in the next 2 minutes or so, as straight across the chicane there goes Matt Emmons. He's out of people's way, thankfully, but there's drivers peeling through the first corner. The Prima Variante, I think it's called.
Yep, that is indeed the Prima chicane.
There we go, as they come around the curve now. There's quite a distance between these drivers, but that is still enough, I believe, to get a substantial slipstream.
Oh, indeed. And Deegan Fairclough right now will be the beneficiary of a triple toe. But the thing he has to be careful of now is how does everybody bunch up as they get towards the second or two Lesbos. That is typically where the bunching up process begins. And you can see already Mikey Doble close up as we've got a car there. That's one of the iRacing cars, I believe, that's decided to move it out the way and has got it wrong on the exit of what is the Regia chicane. But now as they come through Lesbo 1, you can see at the head of the pack, car 117 there, and car 117 being Rob McGregor, the Pro-Am driver, who's currently P19. He's now got this awkward situation because he will feel he has the right, the Elite Access driver, to just be on a flying lap, but he's got a pack of 3 Mazdas behind him who all want to utilise his toe and the hole he's punching in the air in front of them. And now you can see Jamie Dory getting closer and closer now. Is Dory close enough to lift off at this point? I think he's just about timed it right. If he lifts off the throttle a little bit early into this braking zone, he can tuck in, but Mikey Doble now, Constantine's behind, and whoa, was there contact there? Well, I think Doble's been hit.
Mikey Doble's taking a hit on Jamie Dory going through Ascari then. That will probably give a 1x to Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory, but it also upset their lap. But look at Deegan Fairclough coming through. He's absolutely pushing it through. He's past Mikey Doble. This is the only chance of getting a different person on that top spot. Can he keep it to the inside? He peels off to take the optimal line through the McKaney-Alboreto curve here. Through they go. Mikey Doble tucks in behind. He seems to think he's still on a lap, but Deegan Fairclough, he is the only one who can really better his time here. But no, I think he's... No, he hasn't peeled off. He's just hugging the inside because you can go that far on the inside here in qualifying. Across the line goes Deegan, and he goes second. So close to the top spot, but he gets himself onto the front row with a brilliant final lap there from Mr. Fairclough.
Oh, indeed, that was a fantastic and very difficult to judge. I thought for a moment there was going to be contact going into the Alboreto corner, but it turns out in the end that Fairclough timed that perfectly to filter back in. But to be fair as well, Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory both resisted the urge to try and force that lap through to completion. They tucked back in behind, and I think they all navigated that very well. But it just shows you how difficult it is when the drivers do come together in that slipstream.
Absolutely, but Deegan, perfect lap there. But it was Liam McNeely really early on in the session, working with Deegan himself to get himself to the top spot. It is them two who are in the top row for the first race of the night. Championship leader of the Pro category, Mikey Doble, puts it in 4th position overall, and leader of the championship in Pro-Am category, Lee Horne, is first of the Pro-Am category drivers, but 10th overall on the grid. And we've also got David Whitehouse, who did not set a lap, but he is top of the AM category championship. He'll start from the back of the grid. So plenty going on, plenty to watch in this race. Not as many drivers as we had at Bathurst, but we still have a healthy grid of 25, 26, 27, 28 drivers. It's still going to be great action here at Monza, and we'll go through the grid very, very shortly. We're just waiting for a few drivers to finish off laps, to put themselves back into the pits so we can get the session moving on and into the good stuff. Race 1 of the night coming up very shortly, and we have got 2 15-minute sprint races coming up for you and a 25-minute feature race coming up later on in the night. And we'll also show you the calendar a little bit later on, as we haven't quite done that yet. But we've got racing to watch first, and we're going to go through the grid for this first race of the night. Liam McNeely on the front row for Fordzilla Racing, and he's alongside Deegan Fairclough in 2nd place. Maurice Henry in 3rd position. His debut last time out at Bathurst. Let's see how he gets on tonight. Mikey Doble, championship leader in 4th, with Pete Newman 5th. Adam Delmont 2nd in the championship, 6th. 3rd in the championship, Lee Holmes is 7th, with Ben Williams in 8th. John Higgins 9th. And first of the Pro-Am category drivers, Lee Horne in 10th. Sam Smith lines up in 11th place, with 12th place going to Ollie Peters in on the 6th row there. Jamie Dory, unlucky for some, but number 13 on his car, 13 on the grid. Alongside Adam Morgan in P14. 15th going to Keith Dempsey. We haven't seen him for a while. Welcome back to him, with John Burnham in 16th place. David Kernham on his debut tonight is 17th, with Rob McGregor alongside him. Matt Emmons, a privateer entry, a part-time entry, in 19th, with Nigel Stock in 20th. Craig Cockrell in 21st, with Ben Bennyworth in 22nd. Matthew Addy, another privateer entry, in 23rd, with Mark Arrowsmith 24th. Daniel Robot in 25th. Liam Silkstone 26th. Mark Oliver 27th. And our AM category championship leader in 28th, David Whitehouse. So we're about to go here for the first race of the night. This is the NXTGEN Racing MX-5 Cup, round 7 at Monza. I'm Alex Everett, and alongside me, Paul Wash. We're about to get away with this first race of the night. On the front row lines up Liam McNeely with Deegan Fairclough alongside. Lights will begin to show for us here on this infamous straight here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Lights are coming on now, and away they go for this first race of the night. It seems to be a good start from McNeely as Fairclough comes to the left side of the track to try and tuck into his slipstream straight away as we head down to this first chicane. Down we go, this cluster of MX-5 cars is a brilliant sight, and who is going to get it right? Under braking into the corner on the inside there, nice and tight is Maurice Henry, but he managed to get it through cleanly, blinking in and out. Connection difficulties there, but he's making it through okay. The drivers, can they get through the chicane safe and sound? It seems to be at the moment, which is a very rare sight on iRacing in the first chicane, but they've all gotten away very well indeed so far. Pete Newman is up one place past Mikey Doble for fourth place, and he's trying to catch up with Maurice Henry, and we've got very close at the front here, Liam McNeely and Deegan Fairclough, but they stay nose to tail at the moment as they go through the second chicane. Left then right, and over they go up to the first Lesmo. All the drivers getting through fairly safe and sound. It's about keeping it in a straight line through this early part of the race. Tyres are cold, so they've got to be very careful on these early parts of the race. Sam Smith moves up one place past Lee Horne into the top 10. We have also got number 33 there, Adam Morgan, trying to make his way past Lee Horne. But, and there's already contact. I was just about to say it's a relatively clean start to the race, but it is Adam Morgan and Lee Horne who come together, coming out of Lesmo 2. Lee Horne, what could have been a dream start to another good night, tatters already.
Well, it did look as though Lee Horne didn't have the best of runs coming out of the first Lesmo, and that cost him some pace, and Adam Morgan looking for that opportunity at the second Lesmo. I think both drivers in the end just simply trying to carry as much speed as possible. I mean, Adam Morgan has come off the barriers. I think we've got a huge incident coming out of Ascari.
Yes, we have. Oh, and this driver's in the middle of the track. We might get a caution here. Pete Newman's involved. Yellow flag is called. Drivers will tuck behind the safety car, and our driver's still spinning on this back straight here.
Oh, goodness me. And Monza already proven, as you say, Alex, it was the case. It was a very quiet start, but then things were erupted and it all kicked off at what was the Lesmos. And then it's the case. Well, something has gone very wrong at Ascari for a number of drivers. And, well, Ollie Peters was tapped on the rear by looks of things over the course of that. But you're interested to see what set off that chain of events for Ascari, because to see cars swinging that early on, it is the case. I think somebody just being caught out a little bit through the corner, perhaps on the cold tyres, and perhaps then other drivers have not been able to react. But I can't really call it at the moment as we see all our drivers forming up behind the safety car.
Right, let's see if we can take a look at the instance that happened just then. We saw what happened with Lee Horne and Adam Morgan. Completely unrelated to that incident, but we'll see what happened. It seems to have started with a collision between Pete Newman and someone else, so let's get a shot of this. Pete Newman sideways, and then just collects the oncoming car. I think that was Adam Delmont, and it collects Lee Holmes as well, and then reverses back onto the track. I think that was just out trying to correct the car, and then something happened to Ollie Peters as well. Oh, we didn't quite catch it in time, but we'll see if we can get a view of Ollie Peters, what he saw ahead of him. So we'll go on board with Ollie Peters. He's following Jamie Dory ahead of him across the final part of Ascari, and this car's spinning off in front. He doesn't ease off the throttle, now he does, but trying to keep it in a straight line, he just loses control of the car, and that just simply was a case of the weight transfer of the car was just a little too much for the high speed there.
Oh, it does indeed. I think with Pete Newman, it was very unfortunate what happened to him as he was going for Ascari, and it was through no contact with anyone. But you'll see he goes high on the Ascari Part 2 curb, and just the car gets unsettled, and in the end, he's forced to go up onto the apex of what is turn number 10, and he hits the sausage curb too high, and, well, in the end, you are a passenger in the car, and everybody else coming through the first couple of drives, they're coming through at such speed, and they would expect Newman to be going through that at maximum possible speed, so they wouldn't have known, and then everybody else has had to take evasive. Actually, it's very unfortunate, and whilst we said earlier these cars are nowhere near as quick as Formula 1 cars coming on through, so here's Newman losing it, and you can see right now that Mikey Doble just has to commit, and everybody behind has to commit until they come out the corner. And the horrible part as well is it's effectively blind. Most drivers are coming through that left-hander thinking there's going to be a clear track. No yellow flags have been called at that point. So as well, everybody has to come on through. And it's only when the carnage really settles down that people can start to see, okay, there's been an incident, let's back it off. And I think it's one of those unfortunate things things, which has claimed a number of drivers, but we've still got quite a few driving, plus the safety car as well. Anybody who's come into the pits to just do some repair work can potentially catch up to the back of this pack.
Absolutely, and there are some drivers trying to catch back up. Adam Morgan seems to be out on track, getting himself away. He's repaired that car quite a bit. It was in quite a state, particularly that front right, as he came into the pits. I think Lee Holmes and Sam Smith are heading back out on the track. Pete Newman and Lee Horne might be able to. We'll see about them. But Ollie Peters, who had that spin, didn't make any contact. He's at the back here, but an undamaged car, so he's quite lucky, it's got to be said. But a lot of these drivers still running, considering it was a block track. They've done very well to get their way through there, haven't they, Paul?
Oh, indeed. I was just looking at Adam Delmont, who's got his front bumper completely hanging off. He was one of the recipients of quite a sizable amount of damage coming through there. But I think he's going to try and soldier on with that damage. Although, is that bumper going to come off, or is it going to be the case that it will hang on in there for the time being? But as you say, Alex, a lot of drivers there very fortunate and also very smart in terms of trying to get through the carnage that lay ahead of them. And I can't imagine what was going through their minds may happen. But we see Delmont pulling into the pits, plus the 32 driver there of what is Daniel Rowbottom coming in. So they've got damage to the car, and the lights have gone off on the safety car, which means that come the end of the next tour that they're going to be doing, we'll be going racing again by the looks of things. So these guys have got to get the repair work done very quickly and catch up, because right now, by the time the safety car comes on around, we'll be looking at being approximately 6 minutes remaining in terms of racing, and they will want to be at the back of this pack and caught up to the back of it. But indeed, a tricky one, but I think it's the right call with regards to the safety car, and we've lost a lot of race time, but we're still going to have some fantastic racing when we get back underway. Even 6 minutes of racing at Monza in these machines, it's 3 laps. It is going to be very nip and tuck, and that's what you love to see.
Absolutely, but we've only completed 2 laps, and we haven't actually completed the full green flag lap yet here at Monza, so hopefully we'll get that very, very soon. Just getting those first lap blues out of the way. Monza things on iRacing. If you're familiar with iRacing, you know exactly what I mean. But we'll see how these drivers get on. The safety car, it seemed very, very slow to these drivers because it's such a high-speed track, and a lot of drivers moving around to try and keep their tyres warm. You've got to keep the tyres warm in these MX-5s because cold tyres on the early parts of the races in these cars is very, very tricky indeed, particularly with corners such as Ascari and the 2 Lesmos. You've got to keep those tyres warm, and you've got to keep hold of the car. And we saw it then with drivers getting a little bit out of shape in those real important corners. We'll see how they get on as the racing's about to get underway. We're actually at the halfway point of the race, and we haven't actually seen much racing yet so far. So it does mean that drivers are going to go in guns a-blazing for these final few laps, shall we say, Paul. They're going to have to try and get themselves up as quick as they can, because basically the race is shortened for them.
Oh, indeed. And I hate to throw a pun here, which might be a little bit 18 rated for some, but watch out for P3 driver Maurice Henry, who right now in the Pfizer machine will be looking to make his way up the field, no doubt about that. And I think he was the one who was looking to essentially try and cut his way through on the opening lap. And right now, with the fact that we've got such limited time remaining, it is going to be one of those situations where, as you say, Alex, drivers are going to go all in, and I suspect the opening lap of this restart could get very spicy indeed. And also Deegan Fairclough there in P2. He'll want to try and get to the head of the pack and break away, much like what we saw at Daytona, to be fair, where he really did enjoy being the lead car in that slipstream train as they make the way out of Ascari here, and they're only moments away from going racing. Also, down in P17, P18, the 2 AM drivers of Mark Arrowsmith and David Whitehouse very closely compacted together. Could we see the 2 of them come together?
Oh, getting a shot of the inside of Tegan Fairclough's Mazda there. A little bit close to comfort. Look at them all so close to one another. They want to be as close as possible, because as soon as the foot is put down by the first driver, it basically stretches out the field, and we can see Lee Holmes in the background trying desperately to catch up. He's running out of time, as is Sam Smith, but we're heading around the Michele Alboreto curve here. The safety car will peel off, and eventually Liam McNeely will put his foot down. He has to wait till the safety car is in the pits, and there's a lot of contact between the top 3 here already, as Liam McNeely's going very slow around this corner and about to get underway for this race here, the second half of the race here at Monza. And away goes McNeely to start the race here, put his foot down as late as possible. Green flag is waving on the stand just above the drivers there, and down towards turn 1 we go. Let's see how Liam McNeely will get on going into turn 1. We've got pulling out of the slipstream there Maurice Henry, but we've also got Mikey Doble trying to squeeze down the middle, but he's covered off by Maurice Henry, and into turn 1 they go. They stay in the positions they're in at the moment, side by side between Jamie Dory and Keith Dempsey, and it is Jamie Dory who gains the position going through the first chicane there. Biggest mover up the field so far is Liam Silkstone into 12th place. He's up 14 places so far. Pretty impressive considering we've only had about a lap of green flag racing, but the racing rages on. Let's see what goes on between McNeely and Fairclough going into the second chicane here, Paul.
Fairclough is going for the move up the inside into Regina. He's got it done versus McNeely, but remembering the fact that we've still got quite a bit of distance to go. But look at this, Maurice Henry coming out here to go defensive into Lesmo 1. He pulls back in there. Mikey Doble putting that early pressure on. A bit further back, Keith Dempsey there in the side-by-side battle, one of the drivers. And we can see side-by-side here with Kernham as they make their way through the right-hander of Lesmo 1. Still side-by-side, and now they've got to decide who's going to be the lead driver, because it tapers from 2 wide into 1 wide for the apex of Lesmo 1. And it looks as though they're both about to make it. There's some contact, but they separate just about. But now they make it 3 wide as a result as they go on to Seraglio. And you can see Silkstone's going to try and hang it around the outside of the pair of them with the overspeed. And he's also getting the distant toe of the Excite machine further up the road. And as they make the way roaring on down here, Silkstone's going to have to be very brave on the brakes, because he's going to see it is going to be a battle on the brakes here. Dempsey puts himself back on the inside there in the renowned livery that Mazda MX-5. And as they make their way for Ascari, it's the case that Silkstone's gained 1 but not both, as Dempsey really putting on the fight as they make their way down towards the Alboretti curve. And as they come charging down, we look to the leader right now, and Deegan Fairclough goes defensive and then swings to the outside here, and up the inside we can see Henry once again. I think Henry's really struggling here to hold Doble at bay, because right now he's looking more and more defensive each and every corner, and now he's out the slipstream in the long run down towards turn number 1 as all the drivers trying to hang to the left, but then they all scramble across the middle of the circuit here with Deegan Fairclough essentially saying, this is where the slipstream line lies, guys, you're going to have to follow me, as they make the way into another lap. And you can see here Fairclough versus McNeely. McNeely has got a slight advantage as they make the way down towards the braking zone, and my goodness, Maurice Henry's going to try and come on through with them with a distant camera shot here as they come on down. It's 3 wide into turn 1, into Rettifido to go, and Maurice Henry goes all in on the inside, but he's got to stop the car and turn it into an anchor as they make their way through the chicane. And Maurice Henry is now your race leader with 3 minutes to go, 2 laps including this one, and further back we've got even more 3 wide situations as we've got quite the battle for what looks to be about what is, I'd say, about P20, and Mark Arrowsmith just ahead of David Whitehouse, and then you can see Adam Morgan a bit further up the road, and oh goodness me, is that Ollie Peters who's just jumped to the pits?
Yes, it is. Him and Sam Smith have had a coming together, but Ollie Peters is quite a way ahead of Sam Smith here as we're watching from above, or late braking from Sam Smith, or early braking from Ollie Peters, whichever way you think about it, and the two came together and it's heavy damage for the two of them. But let's rejoin the live action, not being Ollie Peters' day already. He had 1 good race at Bathurst, but 2 bad races he considered, but it's a bad start to the night for him here at Monza. To see how he gets on in the future 2 races, but it's another swap for the lead as Maurice Henry falls back down to 3rd position, with McNeely and Fairclough getting their way back into that top spot. Fairclough almost pushing along McNeely here. Fairclough needs to be real considerate here that his championship, he needs to get back on track. He needs to be finishing as far ahead of Mikey Doble as possibly needed. But at the same time, is he trying to hang on to this? Is he trying to leave it to the final lap to make a move at the right point? We saw a lot of that last time out at Bathurst. There's going to be 1 more lap upon the completion of this one. 1 more opportunity for these drivers, and it just seems that we haven't had much opportunity to see much battling. But Keith Dempsey takes a spin back there, coming out of Ascari, and we'll see if we can find out quickly what happened there for him. Going into the Ascari chicane, I think that's Liam Silkstone he was battling with there, and it was contact between them. Silkstone bumps across the curb and is just washed out into Keith Dempsey, who was just a passenger in that and had to take a spin at Ascari. But we start the final lap here, Paul, approaching the first chicane yet again, and it could be more fireworks kicking off here.
Oh, indeed. And already they're all kicking it off. They're scrambling for space here down into turn 1. I thought we were going to see the 4 wide then. It looks so. It's 2 by 2 at the moment. We're digging Fairclough right in the middle of the double file. And as they make their way through the corner, Liam McNeely holds on as Fairclough is turned by Doble.
Doble and Fairclough taking a spin in the first chicane there. It was Doble almost pushing through Fairclough there into the chicane, but it didn't work. It turned him round in the chicane there, and it sent them back loads and loads of positions. This sends McNeely almost in the clear. It's now between him and Maurice Henry. We'll take a replay of that instant later on after the race. But for the time being on this final lap, it is straight between McNeely and Henry, but also bringing in Ben Williams. We haven't seen him in the top spot very often this season, but he's got a chance at these drivers ahead of him. Lots of straights to go. Plenty of opportunity to slipstream these drivers and make his way past. Let's see what happens on these final few corners through the Lesmos 1 and 2. Maurice Henry holding it back at the moment. He's going to time it till presumably after Ascarius. Going wide, there goes McNeely. That will slow him down a little bit, but he might not be worried about that. He might be worried about when Henry decides to make a move. He might be now going into the Ascarius chicane. Maurice Henry is going to try for the move, hoping he can hang on to it before the Michele Alboreto curve, Paul.
This is a very brave move, but you can see McNeely there backing off considering. McNeely setting himself up to return into Alboretti curve as they make their way through turn number 10 here, and as they come on through the left-hander, now Henry has got to break the time. You can see he'll weave initially, he'll weave then again. He's allowed to do the occasional weave so long as the car's not fully alongside, and now he will hold that inside line as they've got one more corner, one more braking zone, and Henry is going to make that braking zone as tight as humanly possible as now McNeely tries to go all the way around the outside. Or will he go for the cutback? He tries to sweep for the cutback, but he gets a small tap there from what was Ben Williams as they come through the final corner. It's going to be a drag race to the line as it looks like Henry disappears out of existence briefly, and now it's all about who's got the run to the finish line. It's going to be, I think it's McNeely who's just about to creep ahead. I think it's a photo finish because that is incredibly tight.
What a finish! And McNeely off the track, you could say, on the inside of the Michele Alboreto curve there, but it has gone to McNeely, and I think it's gone by 17 thousandths of a second, and it is 69 thousandths of a second between the top three. Ben Williams pushing hard at the end to try and get it, but it was ultimately between the top two. What a finish to a great race there. Short race, granted, but a very, very good one at that. Plenty to re-watch after this race, but your race winner, for the time being anyway, is Liam McNeely in the Fordzilla car. There's 4 straight wins on the trot, including those 3 that he had at Bathurst last time out 2 weeks ago. So, Paul, what a race we just had, and we've got quite a few instants to look back through as we transition over to race 2. But yeah, exactly what we predicted. Some great battling, great finishes.
Oh, indeed. And, well, the battling was very tight and terse. And, well, McNeely, in the end, I think he had to take off the circuit going out the final corner in order to avoid, well, because Maurice Henry's car just simply disappeared due to latency. But you'll see here as they all made their way down, this was on the final lap. All 5 drivers here, all in that competition. Well, my apologies, not all 5 drivers in that competition at this point in time. But you can see it was 7 drivers effectively coming together. But Doble there just with a tap on the back of Fairclough. And as they both made their way back up to speed, they both took themselves out of the race effectively for the win, although they did finish just outside the top 5 in the end. As they came on down here, you can see Deegan Fairclough tapped in behind McNeely, but having to cut his speed, and then just as they made the way through, it was the case that Fairclough turned by Doble. I think there might have actually been a tiny bit of contact to the back of Doble's car by one of the drivers coming on through. I can't see quite who was triggering that potential contact fully behind, but I think there might have been the slightest tap on the rear of Doble's car from the number 75 car, although I'm not going to put any accusations out there without any evidence. And was there contact? No, there wasn't. So it was the case that Doble just got hooked onto the back of what was Fairclough's car, and it cost them both the race. And I do apologise there to Ben Williams for almost accusing him of turning Doble as they make their way through turn number 3 and then following it through to completion, where it's the case that Maurice Henry, well, I think he will be ruined the fact he didn't pick up the win, but he took the fight to McNeely brilliantly. But at the same time, Ben Williams, a little bit of a dark horse. He's just come out of nowhere in this run onto the final lap, and Jamie Dory just tucking in behind here, and also John Higgins. I think the two of them probably thought, I don't want to be involved in this. I'll happily take a top 5 finish given the amount of carnage we have seen in this race number 1. And as you can see here, it's the case. Henry was just putting as much pressure on as possible through the Lesbos, and his idea, in my opinion, was that he wanted to get the move down to Ascari, and he wanted to set Ascari up in a way that would cost McNeely the ability to come back in the run run down towards the final corner. But now, as they made their way down towards Seraglio, this is what's telling about McNeely's racecraft, because you'll see McNeely does initially go defensive, then he pulls onto the racing line in order to give the position up. But look here, he should be side by side. He's backing off the throttle already, and in doing so, what he's doing, he's setting himself up with ample room to go into Ascari and carry as much momentum through the corner. And that's why Ben Williams there actually had to slam on the brakes a bit earlier than he anticipated, because McNeely was setting up for this. He wanted to be right there, and whilst Henry did have that overspeed to be able to pull defensive to the inside, as they made their way down in towards the final corner, you can see the fact that Henry's gone defensive so early. What essentially McNeely can then do is he can just say to Henry, right, you want that inside line so badly, you can have it, and I'll just simply manage the run out the final corner. And unfortunately for Henry, he didn't quite get it stopped perfectly, but he did disappear then, and as he did disappear as a result, you could see that as a result McNeely had to take to the runoff area there because he didn't know where the car was going to be, and it was just a drag race to finish. But brilliant racing between all 5 drivers to the finish line here. But in the end, I think very well deserved for McNeely, and it'd be very unfortunate if it got taken away through running off track, given the intensity of the situation. But the rules are the rules at the end of the day. I can only be a commentator alongside yourself, Alex.
Yeah, you've stolen that line from me many a times. But let's see if we can get a nice big look at this finish here for these 2 drivers. See if we can get a good angle on it as they come across the line. Let's get it back to full speed. Let's see how close it actually was. You can see it's definitely off track there for McNeely, but we'll see what the stewards do about that upon stewards review. So let's see if we can get above, ideally a little bit closer there, and we'll make our way to the line. And it's rather unconventional, but I'm going to go rear chase for this one. I know it's unconventional, but it's got to be done. And very
incredibly close.
Yeah, incredibly close. That's how close it was, ladies and gentlemen. Real close. A whisker, almost. Barely a cigarette paper between them. But that is the finish for this race here, the MX-5 Cup. Race 1 of round 7. And it was, in fact, 20 thousandths of a second between the 2 of them, but it's Liam McNeely winning the race from Maurice Henry. Ben Williams in 3rd position from Jamie Dory. John Higgins in 5th place from Mikey Doble, who had the spin with Deegan Fairclough in 6th and 7th there on the final lap in turn 1. Their spin was. And in the Pro-Am category, it's a win for Rob McGregor, one of the biggest gainers of the field, with 10 places gained to 8th position overall, but first in category, just ahead of John Burnham in 9th position. David Kernham on his debut to the series, a nice top 10 position for him. Craig Cockrell in 11th place with Liam Silkstone in 12th, third in category. Liam Silkstone in 13th with Adam Morgan recovering to 14th. Nigel Stock 15th from 16th going to Daniel Rowbottom. Lee Holmes in 17th place recovers to 17th after having to recover to the pits. David Whitehouse in 18th with Ben Bennyworth 19th. In 20th position was Mark Arrowsmith from Matthew Addy. Matt Emmons in 22nd with Pete Newman 23rd, Adam Delmont 24th, Lee Horne 25th with his lap 1 incident, Mark Oliver 26th, Ollie Peters 27th, and 28th going to Keith Dempsey. We have a reverse of 12, which means Liam Silkstone will start on the front row of the grid for the next race. But for a few minutes, we're going to pop away to set up the next race. We'll be back very soon for more Next Gen Racing MX-5 action. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone, to Monza. A very short break just then, but we're back, ready for race 2 of the night. And this is the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup here at Monza for the 7th round of 12 of this season. And we have got quite the season to fall before you as the weeks go by. We have got a triple header now. Monza today, next week is Snetterton, and then the week after that is Zandvoort. And it will round off with another triple header after a 1 week break between rounds 9 and 10. It will finish off with the famous Interlagos circuit in Brazil, and then the famous Long Beach circuit in America, in California State, and it will finish off with a 2-hour endurance at the Nürburgring VLN with double points on offer on that race. We'll see pit stops in that race. We'll see plenty of action on one of the greatest tracks in the world. And what we have done so far, well, we visited Silverstone at the start of the season, the beginning of December, and the build up to Christmas we had Knock Hill and the Red Bull Ring. To see us into the new year, we had Montreal, Daytona, and then 2 weeks ago was the last round of the championship at Bathurst in Australia. What a season we have got falling before us, as every race has been exciting. And it is due to the brilliant format that we've got in this championship. 2 15-minute sprint races, and we're about to see the second of 2 in this race coming up very, very shortly. And we have got a 25-minute feature race coming up for you later on. In this race, we have got a reverse grid of 12. I know it says 15 in the graphic, but it is a reverse grid of 12. And then the final race of the night will be a reverse grid of the full grid, which means that drivers who finish the race in this race are eligible for the reverse grid. So finishing in this race is key, and if you don't have such a good race, try and get yourself to the end anyway, as that will benefit your starting position for the next race. We are close to the next race here, Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup resuming here at Monza. So Paul, we had quite an eventful first race. Not many laps. I think we only actually had about 4 laps racing. But as we tail end of this practice session here, what can we expect for the next race here?
My prediction would be that I think all of our drivers will have been given a little bit of an advisory with regards to calming things down. But on top of that, I think we are going to see, if things settle down, some fantastic racing from start to finish in this second one. Indeed, drivers now very conscious of the fact that we do have the full reverse grid coming up after this one. So I think some drivers will be looking to place themselves very well. And those who do not have a good start, I think will just try and back it off, fall to the back, and then just run towards the rear. I can't imagine it is going to be as chaotic into turn one. They've all got used to it now. Surely we're going to be having the full 50 minutes of racing and not just 4 laps.
Well, let's see. And here we go. Paul Walsh is going to talk you through the grid for this next race of the night.
Alrighty, so for race number 2 at Monza is Liam Silkstone, who starts us off on pole position, the Pro-Am driver David Kernham alongside John Burnham and Rob McGregor make up our second row. The 2 Pro-Am drivers there, both with great performances in race number 1 with Deegan Fairclough and Mikey Doble on row number 3. John Higgins and Jamie Dory on row 4 with Ben Williams and Maurice Henry behind, and then Liam McNeely and Adam Morgan on the 6th row. Nigel Stott and Lee Holmes on row number 7 with David Whitehouse and Ben Bennyworth behind on row 8. Row 9 consists of Mark Arrowsmith that is, and Matthew Addy, Matt Emmons and Pete Newman complete our top 20. Adam Delmont and Lee Horne on the 11th row with Sam Smith and Ollie Peters just behind them. And now our final row, Keith Dempsey starting at P25. A slightly redacted grid, but it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the lights to go out, as it is going to be with a very short count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's lights out and away we go for race number 2 as all of our drivers will look to get the best possible start in the run down towards turn at number 1 as they all come charging down. We can see immediately here Liam Silkstone getting a good start, but it looks like Kernham's actually had a better launch off the line, and he will have that inside line down into turn 1. We can see there McGregor and Fairclough going side by side. Also John Burnham's on the outside. They go 3 wide under brake, and Fairclough's going to try and do the Moses manoeuvre, and he does pull it off. Very brave stuff there as they all make their way through side by side, and as they come charging up towards Curva Grande here, we can see Mikey Doble now trying to tuck himself on the inside, coming up into turn 3, trying to get himself alongside John Burnham, and he's got himself there. It does look as though there we have Ben Williams getting squeezed a little bit onto the grass, as alongside him is Jamie Dory, but everybody making it through the first 3 corners intact, and as they make their way down towards Regia, now coming into turns 4 and 5, we can see Dean Fairclough there looking up the inside here with a huge lunge, and he comes from very far back, but to be fair, you can do it in the MX-5s, and it does look as though Kernham getting a bit too high on the sausage curve there, and losing the rear end and losing traction in the run down towards the first of 2 Lesbos. So it is the case Kernham dropping places here, as we can see they're trying to come from the inside. It's McGregor, McGregor, but it's going to be very tight going through Lesbo 1, and McGregor's keeping his nose in there, and this is the battle for P4. As you can see behind, we've almost got 4-5 wide initially, but then they tuck into 2x2 as they come through Lesbo number 2, and it is the case that the head out pack is Ben Williams, who's had a very good start, to be fair, Ben Williams, and as they make their way down towards the next part, on towards the Ascari here, as I think Maurice Henry's having some connectivity issues, we can see, and making their way down Cerro Clio, it is the case that our top three once again make their way into a battle down into the chicane, and at the back of that is now Liam Silkstone, as meanwhile McGregor trying to come through versus Kernham, and as they come through the triplet chicane, it is the situation where now they all form into a line here, nobody getting way out of shape, but we've got side by side there, and we also have John Higgins, who's had a bit of a moment as they made their way on through. We've had one car drop it back, and as we look back to the replay now, it was the case, well, looks like Higgins, they're just going a bit slowly into the corner, but as they made their way in, he turned in, and a bit of a netcode contact there by the looks of things with the blue-black MX-5, but after one lap, as we see Dean Fairclough taking his way around right now, it is Dean Fairclough leading with Mikey Doble tucked in very close behind, and it is Liam Silkstone behind them in the battle for the top three, but these guys have come through very quickly, Alex.
Yes, and these two came together in race one on the final lap on the first corner. They're both approaching it again here, nose to tail. Fairclough ahead again, just like on the last time, but it's Liam Silkstone finding his way around the outside of these two. He gets himself to the outside, and he'll have the inside for turn two if he can keep his car there. Similar to Hamilton versus Verstappen, and there is a bit of contact, but Silkstone makes it through and past on the second corner here on the first chicane of Monza, and that loses a lot of momentum for Deegan Fairclough. He is defending now from Mikey Doble, who has his outside. We have David Kernham on his debut to the league, hustling here, trying to push them along, and he tucks in behind Deegan Fairclough. He's going to stick to the racing line as he lets the two ahead battle away ahead of them. We've also got Rob McGregor looking to make a move potentially into the chicane. Into the chicane they go, and it is staying single file between these five cars at the moment. But a good run here from Fairclough to get it back ahead of Silkstone going into the Lesmo. It's not quite ahead yet, actually. The mirrors touch between the two cars, but on the inside for Lesmo 1 is Deegan Fairclough, and he puts it back in the lead with Mikey Doble with a big undercut coming out of Lesmo 1, but it wasn't enough to get him alongside Silkstone as he recovers coming out of the corner, adding on to the main the back straight here. It is a good lap so far from Fairclough as he'll build a gap from Mikey Doble potentially, but there's other cars catching up with this pack, headed by Maurice Henry in 6th here, Paul.
Indeed, and you can see now how they're all just lining up on one another, and these little exchanges of positions we see. I believe that is McNeely trying to go for the move there on that Ben Williams, but meanwhile as they all come through, we do have McGregor, oh goodness me, and McNeely and Ben Williams in contact, and I think also that Adam Morgan getting clipped by that as he's going very slowly through the chicane, and well, McNeely has jumped to the pits, and we'll take a look back at that. Just take a look through, Alex.
Yeah, getting to the inside of Ben Williams going into the Ascari chicane, and they just come together. It seems McNeely got himself enough alongside, but Ben Williams didn't seem to know how much room was on his inside. Not much is the answer to that, but it ends McNeely's race, and it ends McNeely's run of wins. He retires from this race here, and he'll have to start from the back from the next race, because by the looks of it, he might not finish this race. But the battle rages on at the front here. Fairclough alongside Doble, who got his way past Silkstone as we were looking at the replays back there. Let's see what happens going into turn one here. It was similar last time with Silkstone in 3rd place, but he's guarded here by Mikey Doble as they brake heavily into turn one. Fairclough later on the brakes, and he's able to get it through the chicane. He nearly had enough room to cut into the curb on the inside, but he had a good run through the second corner there, keeps his lead at the moment. Quite interesting battling this, and we have gone 5 minutes through the race so far. No cautions just yet. There's been a few incidents here, there and everywhere, but plenty of good racing at the moment, not hindered by a caution period. So we head up to the second chicane. Look at all these cars gaggling for position. You've got Maurice Henry looking all ways to try and get by David Kernham for 5th position. Through they go, and he has got the outside in the corner, but David Kernham takes it nice and easy through the corner, but subsequently loses 5th place as well now to Rob McGregor, who's up in position here in the nice new livery for this week. We'll have to get it on the overlay for next week. But yeah, after 5th place goes Rob McGregor. He's having a good night so far.
Oh, indeed. McGregor's really shown his turn of pace here. And whilst right now he is P2 in class for Liam Silkstone, only up the road in P3, I think McGregor here could have an opportunity to make it back-to-back wins in class at Monza if he plays his cards right. And the one thing to note about McGregor, he's taking a very subtle approach to his moves right now. He's not trying to get too involved in the battling. He doesn't want to see his race potentially scuppered before the finale. As we can see here, Mikey Doble back into the lead ahead of Fairclough. And then we've got Silkstone just tucking in behind, but Silkstone getting a very poor run there in for Ascari, and as a result losing some momentum as all our drivers now make the way down towards the final corner as they come rip-roaring on through. Again, all forming into a line here. It's interesting to see how some drivers want to be at the head of that pack. Others, they don't mind being behind. We can see Silkstone in particular here with Maurice Henry trying to come on through. They're going to exchange places, but will Silkstone back out or will he fully commit under brake? And he does commit. And he holds the position this time. The iRacing driver here, I think he wants to keep the pro between them, as that looks to be Mikey Doble going very wide out the final corner. That's going to cost him his line in the run down towards turn 1.
Yeah, it might get him a slowdown penalty. By the looks of it, he might have gotten away with that, but he has to tuck in behind Deegan Fairclough. Presuming he had to back it off to get it back onto the racing line, onto the circuit. Fairclough leads another lap here at Monza with 7 minutes expired. 8 minutes to go. Jesus, count, Alex. And into turn 1 we go. Fairclough has the inside yet again. Doble on the outside. Can he keep it to the outside? Oh, he was so close to contact, and Fairclough had to run off wide. And he loses a lot of momentum. That could have been a Hamilton versus Verstappen instant there going into the corner, but they prevent it and they keep their race going. They thought wisely of it to keep themselves apart, but there was an instant back there. We saw bollards jumping across the track here in the chicane, but it doesn't seem to have been a notable instant there as we carry on here. This is the battle for the pro category top spot. Doble takes to the inside. Brilliant move going into the second chicane there. Oh, and this might be a spin there. It was a half spin from Maurice Henry, and they keep going. Silkstone somehow keeps it going, but they drop down a few places here as in, well, no, Maurice Henry stays in third position somehow, but it puts David Kernham back into fourth place on his debut. What a night he's having so far.
Indeed, now McGregor is the leader of the prime pack with Silkstone there being taken a bit wide as all of our drivers now make the way down Seraglio. But I think it is one of the cases where by now the gloves are starting to come off, the elbows are coming out as they move into the second half of this race, and drivers are looking to gain. But you can see the two leaders with the fight that's been going on between Maurice Henry and Kernham. As a result now, Doble and Fairclough have gained an advantage of 1.6 seconds. If they can avoid fighting one another for another lap or so, they could probably get enough of a gap to be comfortably away from the rest of the field, and they can fight to their heart's content on the final lap as they are continuing to just gradually saunter off into the distance. But meanwhile, it is the case the battle for P3 rages on, as meanwhile a bit further back there it does look as though I think we've got Pete Newman there under some pressure from Adam Morgan in the battle for P11.
Yes, and they're trying to gain on this battle ahead of Ollie Peters as well. Round the Michele Alboreto curve they go. Pete Newman hanging it round the outside, trying to push as hard as he can on that outside line. But Adam Morgan with a very good exit to get himself into the top 10 here, but towards the front still. Maurice Henry blinking in and out again. It says on our events counter that he had a crash, but he definitely hasn't. He's just got connectivity issues, and he's tucked in behind Kernham here. It could be 3 wide. It is 3 wide going into the first chicane, but late on the brakes is Kernham, and Rob McGregor into the chicane they go. McGregor takes third place and he holds up the cars behind, but Kernham with a very good undercut, and there's a car off on the exit there. I think that's Sam Smith. Yes, it is. But it is the top. It is a big battle here now for third place. A lot of cars getting involved. Keith Dempsey is getting involved. Adam Delmont is gaining as well. Liam Silkstone drops to 8th place. But it's still raging on for these drivers up here, and look how close it is.
Oh, goodness me!
Oh, and yes, it is. It was David Kernham. Kernham went off. Didn't quite catch it, so we'll get a replay.
I think Kernham may have been in contact with Maurice Henry there. I think it was the case the two of them tried to take the outside line through Curva Grande. As we take a look back here, you'll see Kernham's on the left-hand side of the picture, really on the limit here. And then, in fact, it's Maurice Henry who goes all the way out to try and squeeze his way on through and just taps the back of Kernham. Now, he will argue that he had the opportunity to try and come on through, but I think Kernham there was turned, and that's very unfortunate. I think the stewards are going to be eyeing that one very closely, as Maurice Henry now into what is P3, and the head of this competitive pack, as we see the race leaders now 3 seconds away and continue to just disappear off into the distance. And now Henry battling it with McGregor. I think McGregor at this point, given he is the Pro-Am leader and he's running in amongst the whole pack of pros, I think he may be wanting to consider just giving the places up and not fighting too hard initially. Although I say that, Lee Horne has really come out of nowhere, Alex.
Absolutely. Lee Horne starting from near the back, up to 7th place, 15 places gained. But also, Keith Dempsey, 19 places gained in this race, up to 6th place. What a race he's having. And it's not going to end anytime soon as he's looking to the inside of Rob McGregor. They're not fighting for category, but they are fighting for overall position here. He backs off on the inside there, and he's also got Adam Delmont on his inside. Keith Dempsey has put on quite a show in other rounds this season. Oh, and there's another one today, and him and Adam Delmont came together. Somehow they're able to keep it going, but that loses their momentum. Lee Horne has found the inside of the Irishman and will try and take the position here. Blinking in and out again is Maurice Henry, but we've also got up here, we've got Dean Fairclough and Mikey Doble hitting it off against each other again. They've got a gap from the drivers behind, so we'll watch them coming into turn 1 here. Doble has the other line, the opposite line of what he had before, side by side through the corner, and back here we have got Rob McGregor into 3rd place, but coming out of turn 1 and 2 is Fairclough still in the lead. Rob McGregor in 3rd place still, with Lee Horne taking 4th place, and Keith Dempsey 20 places gained. He's in 5th place now. What a race he's having, but Maurice Henry drops back. It's been a bit of a bad lap for him, and he's under the cosh now from Adam Delmont.
Oh, indeed. And as they make their way through Curva Grande, we look back towards the leaders once again. And Mikey Doble now up the inside into Regia versus Fairclough. These two now really going toe-to-toe and making every corner too wide. And to be fair, the respectful racing between these two. And then we look back to the battle for P3, and we can see here it's the case that Lee Horne is still trying to hunt down McGregor. But between him and McGregor, he's got Dempsey. And also Lee Horne has got to navigate the fact that he's got Henry and Delmont, who both want to get past and both want to finish P3 in their respective class. It's a difficult situation to navigate. And Keith Dempsey will want to put the 2 Pro-Ams between himself and his pursuers as they come out of Lesmo 2. And it looks like Dempsey there gets it wrong, and Lee Horne has to take to the runoff there in order to be able to avoid an incident. And my goodness, surely not. There's going to be one more lap after this one, and well, I think I'm going to have to hold my hands on my eyes, Alex, because at the rate they're racing, we're going to have an absolute spectacular on the final lap.
But let's see. It is fireworks so far, and it's not going to end anytime soon. Through Ascari they go, and Adam Delmont takes a spin in Ascari. Oh, he avoids the other cars of Pete Newman and Sam Smith, but he has to get it going again, and he drops a lot of positions. David Whitehouse moves up to 9th place, and another P1 in his category. Keith Dempsey is clear of the other cars behind him. What a race he's had. 22 places gained, but let's see if he can get through this final lap relatively unscathed. Let's focus on this top 2 for the time being, though. Mikey Doble will lead coming out of the Michele Alboreto curve. And it'll be one more lap for these two drivers who had drama on the final lap in the previous race. What will happen in this race here? Keith Dempsey will be rubbing his hands knowing that he's sitting there in 3rd place. He could capitalise on the mistakes of these two here. Let's see what happens. Heading down towards turn 1 we go. Doble defends the inside. Where will Fairclough go? He's going to take to the outside. They break heavy into turn 1. Doble moves over to the racing line to try and take the optimal line. He gets a good shape through the corner. And Fairclough has to take a wider berth round turn 2 to try and get a good exit. Still, Doble in the lead of the 2 at the moment. Heading round the curve of turn 3 here. We'll head up towards the 2nd chicane. Doble guards the inside yet again. He wants the inside for these corners. He wants to keep Fairclough on his outside. Heading down towards the corner. Might we see Vettel versus Alonso here? Oh, nearly as Doble swerves to avoid Fairclough as they get very close into the chicane. Doble holds the inside up to Lesmo 1 and 2. What can Fairclough do? It's been a very, very good defensive performance on this lap so far from Mikey Doble. Through the corner they go. Relatively unscathed at the moment. No contact, no overtakes yet on this final lap. Into Lesmo 2 we go. This is now the point that Fairclough is going to try and line up the move for that lead. He has to do it going into Ascari, or he's going to do it into the Parabolica, aka Michele Alboreto curve. But we have seen in the previous race that overtaking on this corner is definitely the better option, as Mikey Doble has to try and guard the inside. He's getting as close as he can to Fairclough. There is contact. The rear left quarter panel on Fairclough was made contact with, and the two come together. Huge instant between the two, and that will be Mikey Doble out of this race. Or will it? He can keep it going. He crabs onto the track, and he collects Keith Dempsey. He collects 3rd place runner Keith Dempsey, who worked so hard to move up there. Oh, what have we just seen, Paul?
Well, I think, to be honest, it's going to be a case that some driving standards are definitely going to be reviewed after this one. Because you can see Fairclough literally trying to limp to the finish line here. And well, it could be at this point, Maurice Henry could take this right as they come out the final corner. And Fairclough's out of this. And it is going to be, by complete shock in the final lap, it will be Maurice Henry who takes the win in the end ahead of Rob McGregor as they come across the line. Or will it be McGregor who sneaks it at the very end? No, he doesn't quite. So it's Maurice Henry who's your overall winner and pro winner ahead of Rob McGregor, the prime winner in P2, Sam Smith P3, and then David Whitehouse comes home to take the win in the AM class and a P4. Well, he was looking to one day get that car onto the podium overall. He was almost there. Dean Fairclough P5, Jamie Dory P6, Matthew Eddy P7, Adam Delmont P8, Matt Evans P9, and our top 10 being completed by Lee Horne, who with a wounded car has brought it home P2 in the prime class. But that final lap, we were looking forward to something spectacular, but I don't think we wanted it to play out that way. And you've got to feel, in particular for Dempsey, who was just a passenger in all of that, and just saw his race completely disintegrate.
Well, I'm not going to point the finger at either Doble or Fairclough there, but whatever happened between them two, whoever's fault it was, or even if it wasn't either of their fault, ultimately they've ruined someone else's race there. You know, you don't hear that sort of thing from commentators often, but ultimately someone's worked really hard in that race, and two other people have ruined it. You know, we don't want to see that sort of thing in racing, and no, that was a disappointing end to that race, but from the point of view from Keith Dempsey and his fans and team, of course. But we'll look back through the instance as we saw them. Got to try and find them, that is, because there was quite a few fisticuffs on that final lap there. Let's see if we can find it. But yeah, quite a race yet again. There were lots of big battles in that race, Paul, certainly.
Oh, indeed. There were a lot of great battles through and through. And, well, we take a look back now, and this is Dean Fairclough versus Mikey Doble. Now, you'll see that Fairclough has got ahead under braking. And as they turned on in, I think what Fairclough will feel here is that he was pushed wide. And, as he made his way across the Scari there, well, could he have just brought the car home in P2 and accepted it? Again, that is... Well, I'm not going to cut it either way, but at the same time, neither drivers coveted themselves in any glory. And meanwhile, as we take a look back again, so looking back at this, and the thing is, what's difficult about this, you can see Mikey Doble's got literally just his nose in on the rear quarter panel from the perspective we're looking at versus Fairclough. So was it right for Doble to commit to try and push his way down on the inside? But either way, neither driver's going to walk away from this one smiling. And, well, Fairclough in the end tried to take a wounded car to the finish line, but that wounded car wasn't going anywhere but to P5 when all was said and done. And, well, Keith Dempsey, I mean, he would have come through the corner and seen Doble literally on that exit curb, and, well, it absolutely hurts to see it. And riding on board now, I mean, this is heartbreaking, actually. You've got to make me look back at this, and indeed everyone look back at this as he made his way through the corner. Now, coming through the sky, he will see that there's been an incident up ahead, and he will see that there's been contact between the two drivers, but he will not be expecting this. And it's Mikey Doble who tries to get the car back together. And, well...
Yeah, look. Mikey Doble, to be fair to me, was just trying to get it back near the track, or onto the track, that could be argued. Just trying to get his race back on track, trying to get a finishing position. But it's the whole happening before that. And another instant there, just to tip it off for Keith Dempsey. And it's the whole happening before that that's ultimately caused this for Keith Dempsey. He did everything he could. He could have backed off a little bit going through Ascari, knowing there's an instant up ahead. He could have backed off a little bit. There's a lot of ifs and buts in this.
Yeah.
It's,
most definitely.
It's disappointing to see, because he could have won that race.
Oh, indeed, if he just literally seen the incident and thought, you know what, I'm just going to back the throttle off, ease it to the end, he could have taken it. But, to be fair... That means that we have, I think it's the case, Maurice Henry has taken his inaugural win in this series, and he'll be smiling from ear to ear about that, and it's an unexpected win for him.
Yeah, exactly. Always look on the brighter side of life. Maurice Henry taking his debut win in the series. He was very good last time out at Bathurst, and we saw him hovering around the top spots in this race. So we'll round off the results here, but a big congratulations to Maurice Henry, and Paul Walsh is going to talk you through the rest of the standings here.
Indeed. In race number 2, Maurice Henry taking the win in the end by only 11 thousandths over Rob McGregor, who I think will be very pleased with the win in the Pro-Am class, but disappointed he couldn't quite take the overall win. But still, there's always race 3 for that. Sam Smith completes our overall podium there. Another solid drive from Sam Smith, who, to be fair, I think had a number of braking issues over the course of that race. We saw him losing it into turn 1 a couple of times. But still, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. David Whitehouse taking the AM class win in the end in P4. He'll be pleased with that in the Ducks on livery. And Ian Fairclough completing our top 5. Jamie Dory, Matthew Addy, Adam Delmont, Matt Emmons and Lee Horne rounding off our top 10, with Lee Horne having a very difficult end to his race after a very strong start and midpoint. Nigel Stock just finishing outside of the top 10 there in P11, with Pete Newman very close behind, and then Ollie Peters at P13 ahead of Ben Williams P14. Keith Dempsey completing our top 15 with that disappointing ending, and then Ben Bennyworth in P16, and Lee Holmes P17, Mikey Doble P18, and then outside our top 18. I think a couple more drivers on that list, but that's our top 18 in the standings there. Indeed, what a very tricky race all involved.
Yes, indeed. Big congratulations to Maurice Henry, and a big congratulations to Rob McGregor. 2 wins on the trot for him, and David Whitehouse getting what could have been his best result of the season overall anyway. A winning category for him. So smiles for some of the drivers here, but it's going to be big frowns for some of the drivers here. We're going to head into the 25-minute feature race next. It's been Alex Everett and Paul Walsh here of the NXTGEN Racing MX-5 Cup. Round 7 here at Monza. We'll be back very soon for that feature race. Don't go away. Well, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Monza, and we have got race 3 of the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup coming up for you very, very shortly in the next few minutes or so. My name's Alex Everett, alongside me, Paul Walsh, giving you the great entertainment that is the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup, and it has been a very entertaining and dramatic night so far. I know we say that about most races, but tonight has been especially. But that is tonight. We have got plenty more rounds to go. 5 rounds to go after tonight. We have got Snetterton 1 week from today. Tune in live on the channels here on Next Gen Racing TV on Facebook, Crest Autosports TV on YouTube and Twitch as well for Snetterton 300 layout next week. And then the week after that, 2 weeks from today, will be the Zandvoort GP layout. And the final 3 rounds of the championship, Interlagos, Long Beach, and the 2-hour endurance to finish us off at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. We have got the 25-minute feature race coming up very, very shortly. And Paul, we have seen some fireworks tonight, haven't we?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we thought race 1 was full of fireworks, and then race 2 just delivered on that as if it's the 4th of July. I mean, race 3, by that context, we should be seeing fireworks from start to finish. And to be fair, we do love very close and intense racing, but I think a lot of rivalries are, if they were not already present, are being created, and they are igniting and flaring up very much so. But I think now we're coming on to the 25-minute race. It's anyone's guess how this one can play out, because we saw some drivers who we wouldn't normally see up towards the front have some fantastic finishes, particularly Sam Smith in that race, coming home P3 overall.
Absolutely. We didn't mention Sam Smith that much, but he was just picking them off one by one and got himself into the podium spots overall, picking up the podium in that race. I don't think we've seen him on the podium yet this season, so a jolly good well done to him, as well as Pro-Am category winner Rob McGregor for getting himself second place and only 2/10 down, or it was between 1 and 2 hundredths actually down from Maurice Henry, who took the win in race 2 there. Maurice Henry has been floating thereabouts in the top spots in the last 2 rounds, and he finally got his win. But the big drama was the final lap contact between Diggin Fairclough and Mikey Doble. The two, you could say, 2 of the championship protagonists coming together. But we'll see what happens in this 25-minute race coming up very shortly here. 25 minutes, there will be no pit stop required. As we saw earlier on in the season, no pit stop required. It's just a very long race, and you've got to bide your time. You've got to be patient, and you've got plenty of time to get your way through the field if you need to. But also you need to conserve your tyres. That is what we've seen in this season, in these feature races so far this season. But enough about that. We're about to head onto the start-finish straight to welcome our drivers onto the grid, and we'll go through the grid for this final race of the night. It will be, just check that these are actually right, Liam McNeely. Well, Liam McNeely will start on the front row of the grid. The race 1 winner will start P1. What a big opportunity it is for him to get away and get away good for this final race. Adam Morgan second from David Kernham in third, who was floating around the top spots in the second race, but drama dropped into the bottom spots. John Burnham fourth with Mikey Doble in fifth, Lee Holmes in sixth, Ben Bennyworth seventh with Keith Dempsey in eighth, Ben Williams ninth from Ollie Peters in 10th, 11th goes to Pete Newman, with 12th place going to Nigel Stock, Lee Horne in 13th from Matt Emmons, Adam Delmont 15th, Matthew Addy 16th, Jamie Dorian 17th with Deegan Fairclough in 18th, 19th David Whitehouse, 20th Sam Smith, Rob McGregor 21st, 22nd Maurice Henry, 23rd John Higgins, and Mark Arrowsmith rounding off the grid in 24th. We're about to get underway here for the Mazda MX-5s on Next Gen TV. Lights are going to turn red, and we're about to get underway for the third and final race of the night. Away we go, and it is Liam McNeely, our race 1 winner, who gets a good start off the line, but David Kernham might have got a good start. He might be getting himself alongside Adam Morgan as we head down towards turn 1 here. Adam Morgan is able to cut across and cut off the move from David Kernham, but guarding the inside there is Liam McNeely from the BTCC driver. Into turn 1 we go. Big late break there from Adam Morgan, but it's not enough to get him quite alongside as we head into the first chicane here. Contact up ahead, and that is turned around. That is Lee Holmes with collecting Ollie Peters and Ben Bennyworth, and they reverse off the track to avoid any more drama. And Lee Horne, more upset for him. He has to spin it back on the track, and he can't quite get it going again, and he has to come back through from the back of the grid again. But meanwhile, back at the front, McNeely continues leading it from Adam Morgan and David Kernham, who has another crack at being in these top spots here. John Burnham leads the Pro-Am category by some distance, 4th overall at the moment, as we head into the Lesmo corners now, Paul.
Indeed, and all of our drivers now as they make their way into Sector 2 here. Liam McNeely really getting on the gas early, and Lee Horne meanwhile now having to recover this. But to be fair, over 25 minutes, and given the volume of fighting, anything is possible. You see Dean Fairclough here already up into P9, and as he makes his way and now down into Lesmo number 2 as the sun is beginning to set. We can see the Excite Racing machine of Adam Delmont just tucked in behind here as they're making their way down. But up ahead, Pete Newman and Ben Williams starting to battle for P7 as they come rip-roaring on down Seraglio and up towards Ascari, and these two exchanging places, and as they make their way down to the braking zone here, I suspect where it looks like Ben Williams in fact deciding to back out of it, discretion being the better part of valour. And now as they make their way through the third chicane for the first time of asking all of our drivers snake training the way on through here, and I think they do have to be ever so mindful that this race is an extra 10 minutes in length, and fighting so early on is only going to cause things to erupt. As we can see, it is the case that Nigel Stock right now battling alongside Jamie Dory in the battle for P12 as they make their way down. But up front we can see John Burnham there in P5, the pro driver, getting very feisty in amongst what is the pro drivers as they make their way through the final corner. As they do, Keith Dempsey on that wide line, and coming to the end of the opening lap, it is still Liam McNeely who leads ahead of Adam Morgan and David Kernham, and it's Keith Dempsey battling side by side with John Burnham in the top 5, as behind we've got Mikey Doble and then Pete Newman and Ben Williams, Stephen Fairclough and Adam Delmont making up your top 10 as they all come charging on down towards turn number 1 once again.
David Kernham sticking close to the top 2 here. He needs this to break away from the packs behind. Keith Dempsey is going to get another opportunity here. Oh, there's a big nudge from Mikey Doble, and he gets into the corner, but he's ultimately turned around by John Burnham. Mikey Doble hops across the chicane, but Keith Dempsey is rolling back onto the track here. He's holding up the grid. He's holding up the whole field, and it inevitably leads to an instant, and the track is almost blocked here. Ollie Peters is stuck. Maurice Henry, I think, is stuck there, and another NXTGEN driver. It's just a mess here, Paul.
Oh, indeed, and that is very unfortunate for Dempsey. He was tapped very briefly on the back, and in the end, as much as he wanted to control that car, I think it was the case that for the Irishman, the car just went on him. And to be fair, that little roll back there, I think it was the case that he was just trying to gradually get the car in a position to stop it. But looking back, and you can see Doble very close behind that, under braking. It's the tiniest of taps, and it just causes Dempsey to come on forward. And in the end, the only place he can go, he's got to go one or two places. You've got to swerve to the left, or he turns across the road, and he turns across the road in it, and that's what leads this all kicking off, which is very unfortunate. And well, him getting on the throttle to try and pull the car off there, that was just a bit of bad timing, and well, it is unfortunate for all the drivers involved there, but it does mean now we have lost one of our big players up at the front of the field.
Yes, it does indeed. Yeah, an unfortunate night for Keith Dempsey. He's still away and going, but a long way back, and chance of a big result here faded away for him. But at the front, Liam McNeely romping away at the front here. He's gained over half a second gap to Adam Morgan, who also has a half a second gap to David Kernham. These three have got to work together. They've got to try and break away from the pack here. Oh, there's a big spin at the back there. David Whitehouse in the iconic Duck Song livery spins into the tyre wall there coming out of Ascari, and we'll get a replay of it to see what happened through Ascari 1 and then 2. He's hugging the inside quite tight there, and it steps sideways, trying to correct it, hits the curb, and it just sends it around. It's just a big loss of traction there as the weight transfer of the car swayed from side to side, Paul.
Indeed, a pendulum effect there. And Whitehouse, to be fair, did a very good job of trying to bring it back together, but in the end, I think he just didn't quite get that momentum calmed down enough. He'll probably be visiting the pits, but there is still plenty of time for him to catch up, as we have seen, even in the 15-minute races, how quickly a driver can come from the back of the field, even if they are quite a bit of time down. And as meanwhile, we look to see our leaders making their way through the opening chicane. Retfidio, meanwhile, in P4, they're Ben Williams at the head of another pack with Pete Newman, Mikey Doble and John Burnham behind, and Dean Fairclough is bringing the third pack of drivers, including himself, Delmont and Dory, are closer and closer here. So it is the case our top 10 are gradually concertinaing together each and every lap right now with the power of slipstream, and as they gradually come together here, it does look as though we may be seeing our top 10 coming. I reckon give it another 5 minutes and we could be seeing 10 drivers contesting that lead. Oh, you've called it, Let's see if that happens. We've still got plenty of time left in this race, about 19.5 minutes remaining in this race, give or take. But we could see big fireworks in this race yet. A lot of drivers keeping conserved at the moment because there's been a lot of drama so far in this race. But there's a long way to go, and they've got to keep their tyres cool. As running off wide there is Liam McNeely. That won't help the situation, but Liam McNeely has been a rocket these past 2 meetings. He romped Bathurst last time out, and he has done very, very well this time around. It was only an instant between him and Adam Delmont that put him out of contention in race 2.
but he seems to be on course for a good result in this race at the moment. You can just see the way he takes the car through Ascari there. It's just nice and slick through the corner, making it look real easy, and we know for a fact it's not that easy, is it, Paul?
No, it definitely is not, especially with this pressure and the number of drivers breathing down your neck. You can imagine if McNeely makes even one mistake, he will fall backwards colossally towards the battle for P3 and the battle for P4. And we're looking at the battle for P4 here. We see Pete Newman and Ben Williams going to be looking down in towards the final corner. In fact, Newman's quite a bit ahead, and it's Ben Williams having to cover off Mikey Doble as a bit further back there. That's Adam Delmont trying to come through up the inside of what is John Burnham as they make their way through the final corner. Indeed, Burnham just giving a place up as they know there's no need to scramble or squabble for this as they make their way on to another lap very shortly. But what is quite telling at the moment, I must say, is the fact that it does look as though there's been a sort of established order for P4 at the moment. It seems as though everyone's quite willing to just let Pete Newman lead it, and Mikey Doble's going to come on through right now, and I reckon it is the case that Williams and also Newman are just going to back off this one. But Deegan Fairclough is with them right now, and we do know that Fairclough does love to try and come on through and pick up those places, and he does look for the move on the inside there of Ben Williams, and it's the case it is too wide. And on the exit, well, Williams is going to give no quarter here. He does not want to give up that position, and as they make the way through, you can see it is the case. They're going to be side by side for Curva Grande, and behind Adam Delmont here, it is closing up as well. So it's the case, whilst our two leaders have not been brought into this yet, it is the case that now P4 through to P10 are all together once again as they make the way down into Regia, and looking up the inside is Deegan Fairclough here to try and hold the position versus Williams. He squeezes Williams to the outside, and Williams, to have an unsettled line, has to back off, and the rear of the car slides a little bit as he makes his way out of turn 5, but he brings it together, and it does mean that Adam Delmont now gains the pace. And can Jamie Dory make it 2-for-1 special? He's going to look for it, but given how wide Lesmo 1 is and how you can hold that outside line and go too wide, it's now Dory who's got to force the initiative down to Lesmo 2, but he sensibly, I think, there backs out of it. 9, the two of them going side by side from Lesmo 2 is tantamount to disaster, or costing them both time in the hunt up the road ahead.
It's been a miserable lap so far for Ben Williams. You could see him and Deegan Fairclough going side by side into the second chicane. Deegan Fairclough moved his car in a particular way, no contact made or anything like that, but it spooked Ben Williams and it forced him to go wide at turn 1 and lost him lots of momentum. Clever, you could say, from Deegan Fairclough, but you could say Ben Williams probably could have shaped the corner a little bit better. He'll see it as he was trying to avoid an incident, but that can be the cunning driving you can get up to in these MX-5s, and particularly on a track like this. But let's see if Ben Williams, who's had a relatively good night so far, he's got a top 8 finish, I think, in race 1, so he's on for some good results tonight and good championship points. Let's see how he gets on for the remainder of this race. Biggest mover so far, unsurprisingly, is Deegan Fairclough, and he is coming up closer to his old rival in this round so far, Mikey Doble. He's got to make his way past Pete Newman first of all, as we're on the start-finish straight for 9 minutes expired in this race. You'll take to the inside of Pete Newman, heading down towards turn 1 here. Into the first chicane will go. Latest of the breakers. Mikey Doble moves out and try and take the move on David Kernham as well. Kernham has to take the chicane, and it will give him a slow down penalty, but Pete Newman is hanging on very well ahead of Deegan Fairclough, and actually has had a good run out of the corner. He gets past David Kernham very well indeed due to the slow down penalty, but he's trying to fight on Mikey Doble, but isn't able to hang it round the outside. Is he able to get a push from Deegan Fairclough? I think he is, and heading towards the second chicane here. He might find his way on the inside going into the chicane here. Yes, he will. Fairclough pushes him through, and past they go. Mikey Doble drops 2 places in that braking zone there.
Indeed, I think from Mikey Doble, as we see it there, it looks like Jamie Dory trying to squeeze up the inside, but he can't quite find it versus Ben Williams, and again backs out. I think we have seen a different discipline now. We're only 10 minutes in, we've still got 15 minutes to go, and everybody here right now are really taking it carefully. Some gaining more than others, but one of the things as well, we were talking about tyre wear being a major factor, particularly the front tyres and the front brakes as well. The amount of heavy braking that has to be done at Monza, and the front brakes, and we could see that in the camera shot actually as we went past Mikey Doble's front brakes, the carbon ceramic disc glowing hot, and as a result it is the case that right now, in fact not carbon ceramics I should say, but Mikey Doble really glowing on the brakes, and as he makes his way on through turn at number 8 right now and coming through Ascari, it's the situation whereby all these drivers, they need to nurse these cars to the finish line, because anybody who does not in that final 7 minutes, it is going to be painful. Particularly remember Alex back at Knock Hill, where drivers seem to be really struggling in those final 7 minutes of the race.
Absolutely, yeah. Knock Hill being a very, very demanding track on the tyres. So is Monza here. The high-speed swerving corners, particularly like Lesmo 1 and 2, Ascari, as well as the Parabolica Michele Alboreto curve here as well. Very demanding on the tyres. They've got to be very careful. There's still plenty of time left in this race. Around about the same distance we would have in a regular race left here, as Deegan Fairclough is pushing his rival Mikey Doble to the pit wall there and forces Mikey Doble to slot behind. A bit of connection issues there from Deegan Fairclough. He's being pushed along by Mikey Doble, and out of the slipstream there goes Adam Delmont, heading towards the chicane. Pete Newman very late on the brakes there, might be able to get it back around Mikey Doble, but Deegan Fairclough seems to be through and into third place at the moment. Pete Newman filters through and into fourth place. Adam Delmont with a very good exit here, fifth place. Mikey Doble hasn't had a good lap here indeed. He drops to sixth place, but he's got to try and fight back here. He's got plenty of time to do so, but he's got to stick with this pack. Fairclough has broken away a little bit here, but Slipstream might be able to bring Pete Newman back into contention. Back towards the front, we've got Adam Morgan versus Liam McNeely. They're still going head to head, but Morgan has made his way past McNeely. So could it be a big race here for Adam Morgan, one of a few of our BTCC residents? And heading back here, we've got Ben Williams and Jamie Joy just hanging at the back here, just waiting for things to unfold, it seems. And that's probably the wise thing to do, given what's happened so far tonight, Paul.
Indeed, and particularly Jamie Dory right now, the one thing that's very noticeable with him, he's really not trying to get involved in any of this. And again, we can see there, it was the case that Ben Williams just getting a bit wrong on exit, and Dory not capitalising. I think just lifting off and deciding, you know what, I'm just going to wait. And I think the only time he's going to go for it is if he feels one of the drivers ahead has lost it to the point that they're going to drop off for that pack. And meanwhile, behind you see John Burnham, David Kernham, and also Matt Evans all scrambling for position. Also Maurice Henry here as they make the way down into Ascari. And it's Henry on the outside as he cuts across. Very nicely done there to take the position for P10, for P9 I should say, off for John Burnham. And David Kernham is just behind now as they make the way up towards the final corner. And Matt Evans, do not forget about him, the next gen racing driver, giving up pursuit as well as they all make the way down. But in the foreground, meanwhile, you can see the Excite Racing Machine there, number 22 car of Adam Delmont, looking up the other side of Pete Newman as they go into the final corner. And as they come on through, well, Newman's going to hold high and wide as they come around. This is going to cost them both a lot of pace here, and Deegan Fairclough is gradually inching away. But meanwhile, our leaders, well, our prediction was a bit wrong there, 6.7 seconds up the road, and continue to push one another along. And McNeely and Morgan, they're playing this spot on, in my opinion. They are working together, knowing that they can do their battling in the last two laps. They don't need to do it right now. They just need to pull away and not get involved and turn it into what would be a six-way fight for the lead.
Absolutely, I think that's just what they're doing here. They're swapping positions and just being fair with one another to make sure they get their way clear of this battle here. Oh, as Adam Delmont and Pete Newman was so close going through the first chicane there, not giving any room to one another, but trying to get through the corner as closely and as fast as possible. But both of them just want this ahead position here as Adam Delmont eases off. I think he might be letting the drivers by, or he got his slowdown, one or the other. But they've got to start thinking, because 9/10 up the road, Deegan Fairclough is stretching away from these drivers. They've got to start working together, because third place might be off the cards if they're not careful. It's now technically over a second between Fairclough and Pete Newman here. So Newman has got to act now, and so has Doble, and so has Delmont. If they want to stick with this top three, or the battle for the top three, should I say, they've got to really knuckle down here. As you can see, they've gone into a bit more of a unison here to try and reel it back in towards Deegan Fairclough. They're getting a good slipstream here from a second back, and there is a bit of a draft train going on here, so they might be able to work together a little bit more to try and catch back up. It's now back down to below 9/10 as the straights are very beneficial to Pete Newman here as they get closer and closer back to Deegan Fairclough, who will just let them battle behind. But this will be a big lap for Fairclough, won't it, Paul?
Indeed it will be, because if he can get that gap to open up even more, and to be fair, he's already stripped out half a second on the leaders on this lap as he goes quite wide out of Sky. Indeed, they all seem to follow suit, pushing those track limits to their maximum. But I was about to say, if Fairclough can continue this pace with the amount of time remaining, he's going to need to be stripping about 7 to 8 attempts, in fact, a lap if he wants to catch the leaders, if the leaders do not fight, of course. But Mikey Doble, meanwhile, looking up the inside of Pete Newman again, and this scramble, I think Mikey Doble now trying to get his intentions through, which is he wants to be the lead driver to go after Fairclough. Fairclough for that P3, but again going a little bit deep through the final corner. As a result, Pete Newman able to cut back in, but now they'll both try and fight for the slipstream here, the right to be behind the P3 driver, and as they come across line you can see both of them literally sharing the tow as they come on down. And meanwhile Adam Delmont there, he's going to try and make it 3 wide in the long run down towards turn number 1, and as they do come on down, Delmont's going to have a huge overspeed here, but you can see Fairclough defending to the inside immediately, so it's 1 by 3 as they come on down, but it looks as though Delmont initially breaking much earlier. There's contact with Pete Newman.
Oh, it was so tight between him and Delmont going into turn 1. I think he's able to keep it going. There might not be too much damage, but he will have a slowdown penalty to serve. But they caught rapidly up to Fairclough going into turn 1. I think they got a little bit of tri-line fever trying to catch Fairclough going into turn 1. Pete Newman seems to be breaking away. Okay, now he's serving his slowdown. Now he is serving it. But he's trying to do it at such a point where he can just latch on to the back of this pack here and stay in the fight for this top 3. Through the second chicane they go. Deegan Fairclough is so good on this part of the lap. You can see him stretching away ever so slightly from Adam Delmont, who's trying to desperately cling on, but on the straights Delmont is reeling in Fairclough here. It's been a very good charge through the pack from Adam Delmont today. We haven't mentioned much of him today. We've only really seen incidents that he's been involved in today, but 11 places gained in this race. Brilliant recovery drive in this race from Delmont, battling with his championship rivals here in front of him, Fairclough, and behind him Mikey Doble. It's in a big important phase of the season with no drop rounds yet in play. He is certainly in the running for that top spot, and he's got to get good results in to do so, and that's what he's trying to do right here. Heading through the Ascari chicane, he's very close to Deegan Fairclough, who is going to be in a bit of trouble on this next main straight here, Paul.
Indeed, and as they all make their way down, you can see Jamie Dory, in fact, getting a very different run compared to everybody else out of the corner, and I think that might be just to try and cut some of his toe, but meanwhile we can see it's the case that Doble and Delmont making their way down towards turn 11, and well, it's Doble on the outside, Delmont on the inside here, and Doble looking at the first signs of taking a peek at Fairclough as well, just the way he angled into the corner, and now it's the long run down towards turn number 1, with what is 7 minutes remaining when they come to the timing line, and as they make their way across, you can see already it looks as though Doble there closing up very rapidly to the back of Fairclough. They'll go side by side here, and you can see, look at the space.
These two again.
Oh, goodness me. And as they make their way down, well, Doble's now ahead, and he's going to return the favour and make it into 3 wide, put himself right in the middle of the road. And meanwhile, it's the case that Delmont's going to be on the outside. Fairclough on the inside. Fairclough breaks as late as possible here and gets ahead and parks it up on the apex. And there is no love lost between these two, as you can see. Meanwhile, Delmont holds up to P5, and Ben Williams, who was going to tuck in behind his teammate, now found a face for the Jamie Dory between the two of them as they make their way up through turn 3. Jamie Dory gaining that position there in a very smart fashion as they make their way through Curva Grande, but my goodness, this is building up to something fierce.
Oh, again, it's Doble versus Fairclough, but there's a few drivers keeping them company. Delmont and Dory are just hanging around here. Oh, getting under a lot of stress there was Fairclough, but Delmont sneaks through past Doble, and we've got Jamie Dory trying to creep round the outside of Mikey Doble here. We've also got behind Pete Newman rejoining this battle on the inside of Ben Williams here, and he might well have got it through into the position, but Ben Williams fighting back side by side from Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory as well. Adam Delmont will keep himself in 4th position for the moment, but they're still not catching and passing Fairclough yet. He's defending the inside for the chicane, but the rest of the lap he's breaking away from these guys and doing so very well. Dory leads this pack here between him, Newman and Ben Williams. He's got to try and catch back up to Mikey Doble with the battle through the chicane and the 2 Lesmos there. He's got to try and catch up to this pack as Pete Newman takes to the inside of Jamie Dory. He's got to go very wide through Ascari, bumping it across the curb. And it's a very fine move from Pete Newman, and Jamie Dory, credit to him, giving plenty of room there so the battle could continue on.
Indeed, and look at the rear of your picture. Look, we've got another driver joining this pack, and that is Maurice Henry, the number 49 car, who's now made his way onto the back of this train. He's also in this hunt now for P3. As further back, we can see 2x2 in the rear of the pitch there, with Nigel Stock at the very head of the pack, making their way down in towards the final corner with Kernham alongside him. But we focus here on the battle for P3 currently, and well, it's splitting up more into a battle for P3 and a battle for P6 at this time, as we look at Jamie Dory here really closing up to the back of what is there Pete Newman. Newman as they make the way across the timing line and down once again towards turn 1 as they come running from here. And there's been a huge incident further back between Kernham and Nigel Stock, but as our drivers make their way charging on down, it's the situation where Fairclough continuing to hold on to that lead, but Pete Newman and Jamie Dory side by side under braking into one, and there's been contact between all 4 drivers.
Oh, we might have to get another quick look at that. We'll also look back, see what happened to Nigel Stock, but heading into turn 1 here, Dory and Newman side by side, breaking into the corner. Look how late on the brakes that was from Maurice Henry. Nudges Pete Newman into Jamie Dory, and Ben Williams got collected there. They all keep going, thankfully, but they lose track from that pack up ahead. So let's see what happened also to Nigel Stock not too long ago. This is heading into the Michele Alboreto curve here, Paul.
Indeed, and under braking, Kernham just completely missed his braking point there and locked up. And you could see in the end, in fact, he chose not to lock up. He tried to straight line the car, but Nigel Stock not carrying enough speed. And in the end, Kernham just turned into a missile, which is very unfortunate for both drivers. I don't think there was any malice involved, but Nigel Stock has not had the greatest day in this third race. But as we return to our live pictures now, it does look as though Fairclough here feeling that pressure once again from Delmont and Doble as they make their way down to Serraglio. But meanwhile, the leaders with only 3.5 minutes to go are now 8.8 seconds up the road. Unless McNeely and Morgan have the mother of all incidents, I think it's the case. It is a 2-horse race for the win, and then it's everybody else who has to pick up the pieces for P3. Because as we look to our 2 leaders right now, I mean, they've been running this perfectly, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all they need to do. The battling behind has helped them, but also they're just working together to break away. I think McNeely is pushing Adam Morgan along on the straights here, which is a little bit more beneficial than drafting and passing on a track like this, where the straights are long, but not long enough where you can pass someone completely on the straight, not like Le Mans or a circuit like that. Adam Delmont takes the inside of Deegan Fairclough to try and take third place here. Mikey Doble's in a good position here to get a good slipstream of the car in front and get himself into third place. Let's see what happens. Adam Delmont, you don't know what you're getting yourself into here. The fireworks between Mikey Doble and Fairclough tonight have been spectacular, and it might not end anytime soon. We will have 2 laps to go in this race here at Monza, headed by Adam Morgan and Liam McNeely at the moment. We'll cut to them later on in the race. We're heading into the chicane. Delmont covers the inside from Fairclough, who's very late on the brakes going into the chicane, holds the inside and will take back third place potentially, with Adam Delmont still on the inside, and Fairclough trying to close him off as best he can, but he couldn't. And Delmont has actually got it back here and might be able to get himself in front before the next chicane comes along. Mikey Doble actually pushing along Fairclough here, so that could get him back in contention to get up the inside of Adam Delmont going into the second chicane. Underneath us they go. Doble picks in between the 2 and into the chicane they go. Fairclough out brakes Delmont, and through the chicane he goes, bounces across the curbs and breaks away a little bit here. Oh, and there's a little bit of fisticuffs in the background there. Henry versus Williams versus Dory versus Newman, but they all get through the corner single file. Let's take a look at what else is going on down the circuit. Rounding off the top 10, Matthew Addy, who is a part-time member to this series. A good top 10 positioning for him at the moment, just ahead of John Burnham, who is the leader of the Pro-Am category, and he has still got to hold that lead in that category because Rob McGregor is not too far behind. He could make it a 3-peat of wins in this category tonight. Good showing from him tonight. A certain candidate for our Driver of the Day award, and we'll decide that a little bit later on. 1 minute to go in this race, and it is a straight battle between Adam Morgan and Liam McNeely as we approach the white flag statement from our start line marshal on the stand on the main straight here at Monza. Into the final corner we go. This is the point where Liam McNeely will really flick the switch, and he'll decide to make a move at a certain point on this lap here. Paul, where do you think it's going to come?
I think if McNeely's going to go for it, it will be Ascari. That will be the place where he'll try to get it buried. We know how well he's mastered Ascari in terms of the art. Oh, no! Goodness me, I was going to say we're going to have that, and well, the 2 of them just come together.
I think there was connection issues there for Adam Morgan, but he gets going again, and that's going to allow these drivers battling through and past them. It's going to be very, very iffy going into braking here. It's 4 wide, or nearly 4 wide going into turn 1. But Adam Morgan will get a replay of that. He did have connection difficulties then, which might have actually confused McNeely a little bit and caused that incident, but we'll clarify that a little bit later on. McNeely's in the clear here, 10 seconds clear, but it is a straight fight now for second place. Adam Morgan might be able to rejoin this battle. We never know. If these three keep battling, Adam Morgan might be able to recover and get himself back into second place. It's not over yet for the Sicily Motorsport driver of the BTCC. Adam Delmont takes the inside of Deegan Fairclough. Mikey Doble following again. He can't quite find the opportunity to get past either of them, but Adam Delmont very good through the chicane. But Fairclough blasting it out of the corner to get it back up the inside, going into Lesmo 1. How did he pull that one out of the bag? I do not know, but a brilliant recovery here from Fairclough. In towards Lesmo 2 we go, and look at this, Adam Morgan, I did say it, he has an opportunity to fight back. He's trying to fight back on Mikey Doble, and this is the all-important bit. As you alluded to just then, Paul, going into Ascari is the place where you want to make the move happen. Is Adam Delmont's going to go for it? Is Mikey Doble going to go for it? Is Adam Morgan going to go for it? But Fairclough knows it. He guards the inside, heading towards the chicane here. Be heavy braking as they try to brake as late as they can for this all-important corner. Delmont tries to keep it around the outside. He does keep it around the outside. Inside for the next corner, outside for the next. He keeps it alongside Fairclough as we head out of Ascari. But Fairclough has got it back in front as they head onto the straight here. He's got to try the outside. Fairclough is going to guard the inside for this corner here. Adam Morgan is sneaking up the inside of Mikey Doble here into the parabolic curve. The Mike McKinney-Alboreto curve for the final time here. Liam McNeely will come through to win the race here as he did in race 1. A big congratulations to him, but here we go, round the curve we go. Outside held by Adam Delmont. Deegan Fairclough is alongside him. Mikey Doble might be able to try and sneak it alongside them, but across the line will go. And there's contact as we come across the line, but it's Adam Delmont. He takes second from Deegan Fairclough in third place. Brilliant, brilliant from Adam Delmont to take the position on the final corner there. Had to work really hard to get that, but jolly well done for him indeed.
Oh my goodness, I mean, you couldn't call that ending in the end, and well, to be fair, we didn't really see him cross the finish line because of how intense the battle for P2 was, but Liam McNeely, a brilliant drive through and through. I think he will have had a bit of a heart attack with regards to that contact with Adam Morgan, but in terms of how they discussed that or what happens, that's going to be something which I think they and the stewards are going to have to take a look at, but in the end, well, it's just smooth sailing. McNeely just nailed this race perfectly. To be fair, he started up front, given what happened in race number 2, but in the end, it is the case that he had to keep it all together. And meanwhile, this battle for P2 going to the finish line, and it was the case that Adam Delmont just squeezing ahead by a hair's whisker as they made the way across the line. And well, as they crossed the line, contact occurred, but the checkered flag had already classified them as finished. And well, it was the case that Deegan Fairclough just missing out on that P2. And to be fair, Adam Morgan's recovered a P5 after that shock ending. I mean, kept his head in it, and well, Maurice Henry just a little bit further behind in P6. What a fantastic way to end tonight's proceedings, and brilliant racing through and through from our drivers, and really an uptone in terms of the racing compared to what we saw in race number 2.
Absolutely. We were a little bit disappointed with some occurrences in race 2 and race 1, but that one kind of made up for it. It was some good racing in the front of the pack there that we were focused on for pretty much the entire 25 minutes. This is the incident between McNeely and Adam Morgan. He blinks out and he blinks back in. That might have confused McNeely because he might have ended up, I'm going to say unconditionally, inside the rear of the car of Adam Morgan. These are not real cars. They are fictional cars on iRacing, so the connection issues do happen. But that might have been what happened to Adam Morgan. To be fair, he recovered really well to nearly get back up into the top 3 spots on this final lap here. But just rotten luck from Adam, and we'll see him take the checkered flag in first place, I'm sure, at some point later on in the season. But don't take it away from Liam McNeely. He's won 5 out of 6 in the last 2 rounds, Paul. He's a force to be reckoned with.
Indeed, he is just... Oh, I'd say this right now. If Liam McNeely had been joined us sooner in the season, well, I think he would be establishing himself as a favourite from day one. And to be fair, how far can he go? I mean, that is a very strong record. 5 out of 6 in 2 rounds. I mean, can you imagine if he keeps that up? We could be seeing him right up there come the end of the season in the Pro Championship.
Certainly, certainly. That could be the case. I don't think we've got any interviews here, so we've got a bit of time to kill, Paul. But yeah, let's. We did kind of allude to it earlier, but I've definitely got an idea for my driver of the day. What are you thinking, driver of the day wise?
So I'm going to go for someone who we didn't see too much of in race number 3, but definitely very strong in races 1 and 2, and that's Rob McGregor, the Scot who finished P2 in class in race number 3. And in the Scottishman, the number 117 driver, putting in solid performances through and through, and really just showing that it's the case that sometimes you just have to drive smart at Monza in order to get those results. And he's had flawless graft here tonight.
Absolutely, I totally agree. 2 wins in races 1 and 2 in the Pro-Am category, in second place, not too far behind John Burnham. Actually, we were actually watching the last lap here. We'll see how close he actually was to John Burnham when we see the results pop up at the end. But what a night for Rob McGregor. He done very, very well indeed. Gained positions in every race as opposed to losing them. Really brilliant job from Rob, and we'll see him carry that into future races, hopefully, for the remainder of the season. Just before we get any interviews, we've got a few lined up. We are going to, here is the calendar we've got for the season coming up. Next week we're off to Snetterton, and then in 2 weeks from today we're at Zandvoort. But mark in your calendars all those dates, but especially the final round on the 14th of March. So we are going to get some interviews in the bank. I'm going to let you lead this, Paul. Who do you reckon we should interview first and foremost?
I think first off, it would be good to hear from Liam McNeely. I think hearing from our winner in race number 3.
Absolutely. Let's do the honours here. We bring in Liam McNeely. Another strong night for you, Liam. Just talk us through the stages of the night.
Yeah, you know, I qualified on pole, so that was a good start, and got a good race 1 and managed to finish first. But then had a bit of a tough race 2, so I was sort of just going for the reverse grid pole, and that worked out very well. So yeah, like the incident on the second to last lap, going on to the last lap, you know, I feel very sorry for Adam, because I didn't want to do that to him after pushing the whole race. So it was just one of those things, you know.
Well, we did see him have connection difficulties. I'm not sure if you saw it, but we saw him blink in and out. Is that what you saw as well?
Yeah, so I just saw him go, and I saw him, by the time he was back, he was more to the left, so I went to bump draft him further, but then I just caught his rear right, and it spun him round, so yeah, sort of nothing I could have done really, but yeah, is what it is.
Yeah, I call the internet connection the equivalent of an engine blowing in real life. It's just as tragic and hard to predict. But 5 race wins in 6 races, Liam. How do you do it?
No, it's been a good few races really. Just coming back to NXTGEN, I haven't really done it for a while after the Legends races. So yeah, just getting back into it, and I prefer the Mazda really. I really like this car in iRacing, so I really do gel with it. So I think that's one of the good things. So yeah, I'm really happy.
Great stuff. So next week we have got Snetterton, the 300 layout, so the layout we run with the BTCC. What's your feelings going into that track? Is it a track you like? Is it one you're looking forward to, or not so?
Yeah, I won there in real life in Genetic Juniors, so I feel very strong there, and I feel like, compared to Monza, I think Monza you can sort of still stay within. I feel like if you're within a second within the top pack, you can definitely fight for the win. So Stetson, I think it's going to be a little bit more evened out. I think people will be able to break away, and sort of there'll be a lot of more gaps than Monza. So I'm looking forward to it in that respect. So yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Pure driving track, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Sponsors, family, friends, fans, before you head off?
Yeah, just Fordzilla again. They've done a mega job. So yeah, Fordzilla for sure. Thank you to Fordzilla.
No problem at all. And you can see the company name Fordzilla and the car there on our overlay there. But Liam, thank you very much for an entertaining night. We'll see you next time at Snetterton.
Thank you. See you.
There we go, Liam McNeely, our race 1 and 3 winner. And Paul, you're going to do the next interview. Who would you like to interview? There's someone in there I'm intrigued to hear from. I'm not sure if you're feeling the same.
Oh, indeed. I think we can bring him in here, and that would be Deegan Fairclough. It'd be interesting to hear from the man himself, the very competitive driver.
Absolutely. Let's bring Deegan in, and Paul will interview him.
Well, Deegan, welcome to the interview room. It looked quite tough out there today across the 3 races. Just looking back, a great way to wrap up the night, albeit very close between yourself and Adam Delman. And that seems to be the story of the races, very nip and tuck all the way through.
Yeah, that last race was brilliant. Really close, tight racing between all of us. Really enjoyed that last one. A good 25 minutes going from the back of the field. And yeah, it was just a really interesting, fun race to do.
And winding things back all the way to the start, we saw in qualifying that you really came alive, and particularly your final lap was a very strong lap. It wasn't quite enough to sneak away pole from Liam McNeely, but it was good enough to put you P2. It looks like you were saving it all up for that final qualifying lap. Was that always the game to sort of play the slipstream, because you've really picked up pace?
Yeah, I mean, this track is all about a slipstream, so I gave Liam a huge tow around the whole track, and he got a mega lap in. So after that, he was helping me out, and Maurice as well. We were all having a good laugh on the call, and it's really important to get a tow. So every time I was on a good lap, then I had some mistake or someone got in the way. But hey ho, last one I had to push as hard as I can to get more like closer to that P1 or take that P1 spot, but I couldn't do it and got P2. But other than that, that was really good.
Oh, indeed. And then translated into the races, the first 2 sprint style races, well, all 3 races being sprints, but the shorter races of races 1 and 2, it looked as though you were right up there in the fight, but it didn't work out in either race quite the way you perhaps wanted it to.
I mean, it was the first one and second one, they were well, all races tonight have been awesome. They've been really close, tight racing, and I've really enjoyed it, apart from those little moments that ruin the whole race. But, I mean, that's racing for you. You do get annoyed from it, but you've got another 2 more races. Say you've got another race coming up, so you just had to have your head down. You got a reverse grid in both of them, so focus pretty much and get good points in the next one.
Indeed, and then going into race number 3, I have to ask, with it being 10 minutes longer compared to races 1 and 2, did that change your approach to the race at all? Because we normally like to refer to as the battling driver, the driver who loves to come on through and be fair with some very, very smart and also very good overtakes through and through. But it looked like you were a bit more conservative in race 3. Was car management on your mind? Because we know how quickly the tyres can go off after 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I like to get a load of overtakes as clean as possible, but some can't. Like, sometimes they are a bit over the top sometimes, and I've just got to relax a little and take sensible overtakes. But other than that, I do like going from the back of the field up towards the front. So I do like that adrenaline, overtaking everyone and try go for that win. But then front 2 in the last one, even though you had the extra 10 minutes and I don't know how many cars it was in the train of me and Mikey and Adam, there was a load of us, and if we kept battling and losing so much time, but the front 2 were pushing away and they just kept gapping every time. So I kind of had to settle for 3rd at the end and fight for that position, and then unlucky Adam had a little lag spike apparently and got sent into the wall. But I mean, I was that finish at the end, that's like a photo finish. It was crazy. I was hoping for a little bump from behind to get me into that P2, but other than that, I'm really happy.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. And now looking ahead to Snetterton in a week's time, going to the very tight and twisty circuit at Snetterton. What are your expectations or your thoughts?
Well, same again. Up front, hopefully. I mean, anything can happen. Snetterton's a really good track. I really like it. I've done it in real life and had some wins there. And yeah, I really enjoy the circuit. So anything can happen. Just get some testing in and get the pace up.
Oh, indeed. Well, we look forward to seeing you take to the British circuit in a week's time. But until then, congratulations on your race results today, and thank you for joining us in the interview room.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to seeing you take to the British circuit in a week's time. But until then, congratulations on your race results today, and thank you for joining us in the interview room.
Thank you very much. And also, I want to say a massive thank you to Sisley, Matt Tools, Cargods, and Jam Sport. They've massively helped me this year and got me into this position. So, super grateful. Thank you all.
I'm sure they appreciate it. And well, with that, we look forward to seeing the wonderful coloured livery machine of yours go to Snetterton.
Thank you.
There we go.
Right.
Deegan actually said something in that actually made me think about something. We've seen a fair few incidents here tonight, so I think it's a good opportunity to actually take our hat off to the guys behind closed doors who put this series together, who do the groundwork to put this series on, because what they also do, as well as putting the drivers together, putting the race together, putting the servers up, organising the broadcasters and commentators, which is probably hard work, but they also look at the incidents of every race. Not every single one, but with reports that go on from drivers. They also have steward inquiries and judicials on incidents that happen in the races. They put time out of their personal life to put these series on and maintain them well. So a big hats off to Next Gen Racing, Jamie Dory, Lee Horne, etc. for doing that. I think you would agree with that, Paul.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, the amounts that our drivers have to go through preparation-wise, and you think our administrators and organisers of this series, they have to do it day in, day out, week on week in terms of running things, doing the stewarding, making sure that everything proceeds in the fairest possible form. And, well, I take my hat off to them because I can imagine it's stressful out on track when they do race, but at the same time, after the race, they have to pick up all the pieces and essentially analyse what went wrong, where people need to be given a slap on the wrist, and, well, it can't be an easy job.
Exactly. We're going to move on to our next few interviews. We've got two more we've got time for, and we're actually going to speak to our driver of the day today, nominated by us. Rob McGregor joins us in the comms booth now. First and a second. I bet you're a little bit gutted about that second place, Rob, but what a night you've had indeed.
Yes, it's been a good night. I can't complain. The only one that I can complain about was the last race. I wasn't really anywhere. I kind of dropped off the back of the toe, and as soon as that happened, I kind of couldn't catch back up to it. So, yeah, a solid night from me. I'm not too worried about the second. They come, so just get on with it.
Absolutely, and you're relatively new to the championship. Do you feel that if you got a full season in, you could have been there or thereabouts in the championship battle?
Tell you something, I probably wouldn't be there or thereabouts. I'd probably be winning it.
Love that. Talking like a true driver. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah, we totally agree. Actually, we would probably see you up there fighting for that championship. But with the rest of the season ahead of us, we've already passed Knockhill, unfortunately for you. But who knows? Next season we might be going back there. But yeah, how do you feel about the circuits going forward? We've got Snetterton next. How's that a track for you?
I've never really done Snetterton. To be fair, I've done it on iRacing. I've never been to the track or seen. Well, I've seen the track on TV, but I've never actually been to the actual track in real life. So I can't really say much about it. iRacing wise, I quite enjoy it. But the only corner that I have issues with is the one after the bridge, because it's just annoying. It's quite an annoying wee corner.
Yeah, we all know what sort of corner you're talking about.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it as we're going on. But we'll just have to see how the kind of season plans out from now on. It's quite feisty up ahead, as you can see in race 2. So I was just kind of sitting back to let all the drivers take each other out, which is what happened. So.
Yeah. Kind of what's going on. But is that sort of your with a MX-5 series with such big grids like this? Is that what you're feeling like the motive's got to be? Not the ambition of getting up the grid as much as possible, but just sort of letting things happen when things get a little bit hairy sometimes.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, if you kind of sit back, you can kind of think, well, this could happen, because when, for example, in the first race there was 5 or 6 in a battle, and I thought at that time there could be something happen ahead, so I just sat where I was and nothing happened. But in the second race it was completely different, whereas I was kind of running fourth with Maurice, and then the front two took each other out, and I was in the second, and obviously I tried to kind of draft Maurice up the final straight, and I just couldn't get him on the line, so I was a bit gutted about that. But yeah, sometimes waiting back, kind of holding back a wee bit's better than trying to go for the move straight away, because sometimes you can just take each other out or take each other's races completely out of it, and then you're at the back, so you kind of can't do anything about it. But yeah, there's many ways to do it, but I don't know what the straight answer is to that one.
You might find out next week and let us know next week. Who knows? But
Upside down on the first corner.
before you shoot off, Rob, anyone you want to give a shout out to? Sponsors, friends, family?
Just really, obviously, the MSR team. So my driver coach, John Higgins, ex-legend driver, and his son, Junior, and obviously my mate AJ and my family. So
Great.
yeah, that's all I can really say. But on to the next one.
No problem at all. Well, Rob, we're looking forward to seeing you in action next time out at Snetterton. Thank you very much for a splendid drive tonight.
Perfect, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.
No problem. There we go. And we were going to talk to Maurice Henry, but he's disappeared from our Discord, unfortunately. But we are going to have a quick chat with Mikey Doble, our championship leader still coming out of tonight. But Mikey Doble, it probably wasn't the perfect night you planned for, was it?
No, I've definitely had better nights so far throughout the series. Yeah, it's fair to say a few things didn't quite go my way, particularly in race 2, but I think by my calculation I still managed to increase my championship lead after tonight, so don't know how, but yeah.
Well, that was actually what I was going to talk about next. The cars around you in Lee Holmes and Adam Delmont did have slightly worse results as the night went by, so with what happened tonight, surely that takes a little bit of the sting out of it, I assume.
It does, but then you kind of think what could have been, how far ahead you could have been if you didn't get caught up. But it's get to this point of the season, and then you've got some people that aren't necessarily racing for a championship. It's almost impossible to race competitively at the front because they're just racing with nothing to lose, and they'll take you out, checkers or wreckers, whereas I'm sitting there trying to race hard to not be a pushover, but at the same time protect a championship lead, and unfortunately you just get wiped out.
Yeah. Know what you're saying, yeah. Right, so we are heading towards the part of the season where, drivers who, as you said, have not been in the championship full time, they're looking for good results and that sort of thing. For the tracks that are coming up next, they're fairly technical. So what becomes your mindset for them tracks coming up next, particularly Zandvoort and Snetterton next week?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a breath of fresh air to step away from the so-called slipstreaming tracks, where I think driver technique is going to come back into it. So I think the racing's not going to be as cut and thrust as it has been the last couple of weeks. It's going to be more rhythmical, and you're going to be able to find gaps in the traffic and actually make some laps. So I think it's going to be easy. The racing will be cleaner at Snetterton and definitely Zandvoort, as they've got a lot of left and right sequences where you can't run side by side, which is going to encourage cleaner racing. Whereas the likes of Monza and Daytona and Bathurst with long straights and heavy braking, it invites people to make desperate moves to try and make positions up or worse.
Pretty good description of it, actually. So yeah, Snetterton next week. But before you shoot off, Mikey, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Fans, family, friends, sponsors?
Well, anyone who's watching on Facebook, as I posted the link, and my family watching downstairs, and grandparents watching from their sofa at home. Hope they enjoyed it.
Regulars as always. It's great to see. Yeah, Mikey, I would say bad luck tonight, but you've actually had a pretty good line of results. But we'll see you next time at Snetterton. Good job yet again tonight. Catch you next time.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks for the broadcast.
No problem at all. There we go, Paul. That's going to round off our night of racing. So before we round off the results in this race, a little bit of a sit rep.
So, Monza proved to be all about the master of the draft, but at the same time, a lot of elbows out action. A race one that was compromised heavily by a safety car, but led to 4 very frantic laps of racing. Race number 2, we're up the ante in terms of the scale of the incidents, particularly in the battle for the lead. And then at race number 3, really brought it all back together, settled things down over 25 minutes. And whilst we were denied what was expected to be a fantastic showdown for the overall win, can't deny that everybody seemed to calm down in race number 3, and we had some fantastic racecraft up and down the field. Monza, as we're hearing over Mikey Doble, a circuit which really does favour slipstream and all-in style racing, but now it is the end of the more all-in style circuits, and we go towards some of the more technical circuits for the upcoming rounds.
There we go, brilliant. There's your situation report from Paul Walsh as we head next week to Snetterton 300 layout, and I can't actually bring anything up on the overlay here. I think we've timed out here, but Snetterton next on the 7th of February for a very technical track in Norfolk area, and then it's Zandvoort for the week after, Interlagos, starters for the final 3 rounds, Long Beach for the penultimate round, and then the final round at Nürburgring. The results of race 3 were as follows, as we're not able to bring up on your screen. Liam McNeely wins the race from Adam Delmont and Deegan Fairclough rounding off the podium. Mikey Doble in 4th with Adam Morgan with final lap drama, finishing 5th place in the end. Maurice Henry as race 2 winner was the biggest gainer of the field with 16 places gained in 6th place. Pete Newman finishes 7th, Jamie Dory 8th, Ben Williams 9th, and rounding off the top 10 was Lee Holmes. The winner in the Pro-Am category was John Burnham, and the winner in the Am category was Mark Arrowsmith. But that is going to round off today's racing. This is the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup, round 7 at Monza. I've been Alex Everett of Crest Autosport, and alongside me is Paul Walsh. Thank you very much for watching tonight. Do give us a like, follow, share, and or subscribe from wherever you are watching, whether that is Next Gen Racing TV on Facebook or Crest Autosport TV on YouTube and Twitch. We'll see you next time at Snetterton. Thank you for watching, and good night.